One day, the peaceful sky above them suddenly changed. Holes suddenly appeared, and lightning flashed across the dark clouds, marking the beginning of something new. From those holes, something began to fall. Various things rained down onto the world from those strange holes. This included trash from old civilizations and even toxic, mysterious organic matter. Ruins infested with monsters also fell from the sky. People despaired at this unstoppable threat shown by the giant skeletal dragon monster over the city. However, these dangerous ruins also brought unexpected hope to humanity. These mysterious substances came with ruins filled with terrifying monsters, for treasures slumbered within the ruins. A giant, skeletal dragon monster with glowing green energy stood tall over the city, and many other strange monsters gathered around. The monster roared, showing off its terrifying mouth full of sharp teeth. This creature was an unstoppable threat that brought despair to everyone. These ruins also held powerful treasures capable of fighting the monsters. Flying cloaks that float with mysterious power were discovered inside. Alchemical potions that turn mere stones into gold were also found. There was even delicious food beyond this world's imagination. These precious items became known as relics, and people would often gather to bid on them at auctions. An auctioneer presented a shining shield to the crowd. These mysterious relics spawned a new economy. People called those fascinated by such relics daredevils. These daredevils were known as hunters. They were the ones who dared to explore dangerous ruins. Kurogane Touma, an E-rank hunter who was 17, finally spotted what he was searching for in the ruins. He shouted out in excitement, having found a glowing relic. Touma, carrying a huge backpack, stood with other hunters in the ruined area. They had just finished a tough job conquering the ruins, and now it was time to share their findings. A man yelled at Touma, who crouched down, expecting to share the relics. Another group of hunters rejoiced, displaying their newly acquired loot, including a shining curved sword and a treasure chest. The man told Touma to agree to sharing the relics, pointing at the fat man holding a bag of treasures. An old hunter pointed his glowing sword, claiming it for himself. Another hunter mocked Touma, calling him a mere pack mule who couldn't even use relics. Touma looked at the small glowing bottle he found, thinking it might be medicine for his sister, Suzu. Dr. Gaia noticed the discovery and mentioned there was more treasure to be collected. Someone quickly snatched the elixir from Toma's grasp. He realized the precious item, meant for his sister, was being taken from him. Touma was violently kicked down, spitting out blood as he crashed to the ground. Even while hurt, he still tightly held on to the precious elixir in his hand. Someone grabbed Touma by his hair, saying that a person who cannot use relics has no rights. Touma was hurt and bleeding from his mouth, but he held onto a small, spoon-like relic very tightly. Other hunters looked at the badly hurt Touma, wondering why he couldn't use any relics. They found it strange because most people could at least activate one weapon relic, right? But this guy can't use any of them. A greedy man, smirking, threw something towards Touma, who was still recovering from the fight. He wondered if relics had a mind of their own and chose who could use them. Touma desperately pushed forward, his face bruised, as others mocked him and called him a beggar. They laughed, thinking he'll never find it. But he kept going. Touma kept walking, saying to himself that he would find what he was looking for right away, no matter what. He would not stop until he found it. Toma's eye glowed brightly, showing that he could now truly see what was hidden. His special gift had become even more powerful, letting him see things others couldn't. Touma found himself standing in the rubble of what looked like a destroyed area, staring at a bright, shimmering light. He knew he had to keep going, promising to himself that he would find what he needed for Suzu. Under a bright blue sky, a hospital building stood tall. Many people sought help there for their illnesses. A man with a wide smile held up a small bottle, happy to have found eye drops called luminous sight. He recognized them as a special medicine that could even bring back sight to the blind. Touma looked disappointed to hear that what he found were just eye drops. But Kiritani Gaia, an A-rank hunter, told him not to look so sad. Dr. Gaia held up the luminous eye drops and explained that they could restore sight, even to the blind. He told Touma that he would use them as usual to help cover the costs of Suzu's treatment. Dr. Gaia told Touma that his special ability to sense relics was truly amazing. However, Touma felt it was meaningless if it wasn't medicine that could cure his sister. Touma expressed his disappointment that the medicine was not the cure for his sister's illness. He wished he could use weapons to become a stronger hunter and search for the fabled elixir. Touma stared at the shining relic, wishing it was the legendary elixir that could cure his beloved sister. He would do anything to get his hands on that miracle medicine. Touma had heard stories about a magical elixir, a special medicine that could heal any sickness and even bring people back to life. Everyone was excited when it was first found, but no one had seen it since. I've only seen it in photographs myself. They say it was found in the ruins of the White Dragon, but even that location is unknown. I became a hunter to find the elixir, too. A terrible illness called petrification disease was spreading, with no cure discovered yet. Those afflicted by this disease have their bodies gradually turned to stone. Once their bodies are fully stone, they eventually shatter and die. Glowing fragments began to fall rapidly through the darkness. In a distant room, a cherished item that had long defied its fate finally shattered on the floor. Toma's sister, Kurogane Suzu, 14, holds a small item, but her arm is visibly turning to stone. Pieces of her petrified skin have already broken off and lie on the table beside her. The doctor then revealed the truth. Suzu's disease was far worse than Toma knew, her arm clearly showing the advanced stage of petrification. Toma was completely shocked, realizing his sister had been hiding her pain from him all this time. Toma was shocked to see Suzu holding something so close to her eye, loudly asking her what she was doing. Suzu, however, remained calm and told him, "I'm fine, and it's actually convenient." Toma looked worriedly at his sister, asking, "This, if it breaks, what will you do?" Suzu, however, remained calm and told him, "It'll be fine, under a clear blue sky." Suzu happily replied that she felt extremely well, and even her food tasted great. Toma stood by, still worried about his sister. Someone shouted in surprise, pointing at Toma. They seemed to recognize something important about him. Suzu was shocked that he still kept the small, sword-shaped pendant that glimmered in his hand. She remembered how many times she had told him to throw it away. Toma remembered a younger version of himself, holding onto a precious item he didn't want to throw away. It had been 10 years since that memory, and now he looked at Suzu, who had grown into a beautiful young woman. Toma tried to reach out, but the doctor just looked at him and called him an idiot. A powerful blow then sent Toma flying. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, making everyone in the building panic. People ran and pushed wheelchairs, shouting, "An earthquake! It's big!" Someone quickly yelled for everyone to get down. A loud, sharp sound echoed around them. Toma held his head as the world around him shook violently. Then, just as suddenly, the shaking stopped, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Toma and Dr. Gaia looked up in complete shock. They seemed to hear something important about Toma. Toma looked up to see a massive glowing blue pyramid right in front of him, the very ruin he had been searching for. A ghostly, dragon-like creature danced in the sky above it. A strange, glowing creature, like a white dragon, flew high above the city, its presence casting a bright light. The shocked young man remembered an old saying about the legendary White Dragon's ruins. It was said that these ruins, home to the miraculous auxiliary, would finally show themselves. He suddenly realized that the elixir, the cure for his sister, was right there. It was hidden deep within those ancient ruins. After declaring his unwavering resolve to save Suzu, he looked at her with a worried heart while holding on to a glowing object that represented his desperate hope. Suzu, seeing the intensity in his eyes, was filled with a quiet surprise. Suzu coughed up blood, her body collapsing onto the bed. Toma and the doctor rushed to her side, filled with shock and fear. Toma cried out Suzu's name, seeing her with symptoms he had never witnessed before. In desperation, he then screamed for Dr. Gaia. Toma found his sister, Suzu, looking very ill in a hospital bed. Dr. Gaia sadly told him that Suzu's petrification disease was already in its last stage. Toma looked horrified, his eyes wide with panic. He knew that his sister, Suzu, was running out of time. Someone felt really bad and apologized for keeping a secret. They had promised someone else not to tell. The doctor revealed that Suzu had actually been pretending to be healthy. Especially whenever Toma visited, she had been hiding her severe suffering from her brother all this time. Toma thought about all the pain his sister had to hide, knowing her suffering must have been beyond words. Even though he was always looking, he couldn't see anything. Toma reached out, his mind set on finding the elixir, as a ghostly image of him holding a mysterious structure shimmered. He was determined to keep going, promising himself he would find the elixir and cure Suzu. Suzu's heart ached with worry for her big brother. She called out to him in her mind, wishing he would stay safe. The boy looked back, his eyes wide with worry, as his sister Suzu appeared in his mind, struggling and begging him not to do anything dangerous. She had desperately wanted him to stay safe, even while she suffered. The boy tried to reassure his sick sister, who lay in bed, that she should not worry. He smiled and told her that he would be back soon, while a doctor stood by watching them. Toma ran forward with all his might, determined to find the elixir. He promised himself he would find it and cure Suzu. Suddenly, the weapon in his hand glowed with a powerful blue light. It hummed with energy, ready for battle. Suddenly, a giant white dragon with glowing blue flames appeared in the sky, soaring above a mysterious luminous pyramid. This incredible sight was the legendary White Dragon, confirming the location of the ruins Toma had been searching for. No narration needed based on visual content and flow continuity. No narration needed based on visual content and flow continuity. Toma stood his ground, filled with determination as he saw the source of the disturbance. It's here, the enemy. Toma's special relic sensing ability picked up wandering footprints. He felt a strong pull in the ruins. But I can tell, it's stronger than usual. I'm being pulled. It's different from the presence of relics. Toma cautiously entered the area, stepping over the remains of a defeated creature in the hallway. He was immediately confronted by a monstrous, hungry plant creature that lunged at him. Toma looked up, shouting, "Whoa!" as the creature fired a massive attack at him. Suddenly, rocks crashed down from above. More monsters surrounded him, including a huge blue dragon and a pumpkin-like creature. Toma found himself face to face with a massive, terrifying creature amidst other monsters. He heard a voice urging him on. "Don't stop." Toma pressed forward, his face full of desperation and urgency. He told himself, "If I stop, it's over." A voice commanded him, "Don't be afraid." As more monsters gathered, he ran forward, descending into the monster-filled depths of the ruins. Toma found himself completely surrounded by many strange and fearsome monsters inside the ruins. A golden light seemed to glow around him as he pushed forward, full of courage and determination. Toma swung his glowing yellow weapon with incredible force, fending off the strange creatures around him. Many monsters, defeated and in various shapes, fell before his powerful attack. Toma fought bravely against the strange monsters in his way. He kicked and struggled, determined to clear the path. The monster, a huge blue dragon, attacked Toma, who fought back but got hurt, with blood flying everywhere. Despite the fierce battle, Toma's eyes burn with determination as he faces the danger head-on. He was at his limit, but a strong voice pushed him onward. It reminded him that the path he sought was just ahead. Toma surged forward with new strength, pushing past the defeated monsters that lay around him. His eyes burned with determination as he followed the glowing path leading deeper into the ruins. He suddenly found himself facing a dead end, completely shocked. A dead end! Toma looked fierce, his bright yellow eyes full of determination as he faced the danger. Even with various monsters looming behind him, he would not give up. He had to believe, even when everything seemed to tell him to give up. He pushed through the doubt, holding on to the faint hope that the path wasn't truly closed. The man screamed in pain, his face bruised and covered in scratches. He had clearly been through a tough fight. Toma's body pulsed with a powerful blue light, a clear sign that something incredible was happening to him. This sudden surge of energy seemed to make him stronger, ready to face the danger. Two huge, dark creatures with glowing eyes and sharp teeth appear, ready to fight. He looked up in shock at the statue, realizing it was the White Dragon. Toma lay on the ground, wounded, but he still refused to give up. He gritted his teeth, determined to find a way to keep fighting. He finally saw it, a grand structure crowned with a white dragon statue, shimmering with countless precious crystals under a bright light. This had to be the legendary White Dragon's ruins, the very place that held the elixir he so desperately sought. Toma had finally found a place shimmering with gold, a truly unique ruin. He realized he had reached the legendary White Dragon's lair, the place where the elixir was said to be hidden. Toma finally found what he was looking for, an elixir glowing with many colors, surrounded by other precious items and sparkling butterflies. His face showed relief and exhaustion from his journey. Toma found it, the elixir, glowing brightly with an aura unlike anything he had ever seen before. He knew without a doubt that this special medicine was the key to saving his sister. Toma finally found it, his face dirty but his eyes full of hope as he held the glowing vial in his hands. There was no doubt this was the elixir, the only thing that could save his sister. Toma finally found what he was looking for, a huge wave of relief washing over him. He could barely believe it, repeating his success over and over. The elixir, meant to cure Suzu's petrification disease, was finally within reach. Yet, Toma's face showed only profound shock and despair, as if his discovery was not what he expected. Suddenly, Toma felt a sharp pain as a sword plunged straight through his arm, making blood drip all over. He looked down in shock, still holding the precious elixir tight in his hand. The man, Dr. Gaia, held Toma tightly from behind. He wore a cruel smile, while Toma looked shocked and betrayed, with injuries on his face. Someone's hand carefully placed a pointed stopper into a small purple bottle. A voice told Toma that his special eyes were amazing, and following him was the right choice. The doctor calmly took the glowing elixir from Toma, saying it was his usual practice to claim such finds. Toma lay on the ground, bleeding and defeated, a knife nearby suggesting he had been attacked. The man held up the small glowing bottle, his face beaming with a proud smile. He had wanted this special item for a very long time, and now it was finally in his hands. Toma's face was covered in dirt and tears, his eyes wide with shock and pain. He could not understand why Dr. Gaia, the person he trusted, would do this. Dr. Gaia smirked, holding the precious elixir in one hand and a blood-stained sword in the other. He callously commented on how people become truly blind when they are desperate because of illness. Dr. Gaia smirked, thinking about how easily people would pay top dollar even for rainwater if they believed an illness will improve. If you say expensive medical fees are necessary, they'll diligently offer relics. Dr. Gaia laughed wildly, revealing that Toma's sister had no treatment at all. Toma's eyes burned with fury and despair as he processed the doctor's cruel words. Dr. Gaia smirked, revealing her true colors as Toma lay bleeding on the ground. He callously commented that as long as there were fools, his pockets keep filling. Dr. Gaia held the elixir up high, looking very proud of himself. He boasted about being a genius for finally getting his hands on the precious item. Even though he was badly hurt, Toma's mind was still filled with thoughts of his sister Suzu. He pleaded for her, desperate to find a way to save her. Toma, covered in his own blood, desperately begged Dr. Gaia to use the elixir to save his sister, promising to find even better relics for him. Toma looked up with a defiant gaze, clearly refusing the doctor's evil offer. He would not give up the elixir to such a cruel person. Dr. Gaia stood in the shining ruins, picturing how the elixir would make many sick people grovel before him. He dreamed they would compete to worship and offer tribute. Dr. Gaia stood over the injured Toma, a cruel smile on his face. He believed he was now in charge, with many sick people ready to beg him for the elixir. Dr. Gaia held the glowing elixir firmly in his hand, with many gold coins spread beneath his feet. He felt like a god with such power in his grasp. And so, with everything that had happened, the path forward became clear. Dr. Gaia looked down, asking why he would save anyone. He thinks people like Suzu are just trash and not worth his effort. Toma's eyes widened in shock and anger, a tear forming at their corner. He was completely stunned by the words spoken to him. Dr. Gaia stood with the precious elixir in his hand, callously telling Toma that he no longer had any use for Suzu. He added that he also didn't need Toma anymore now that he had what he wanted. Dr. Gaia smirked down at Toma, who lay bleeding on the ground amidst a pile of coins, thinking about how many more people would fall for his tricks. He then decided it was time to put an end to their conversation, leaving Toma to his fate. A bell, now glowing with purple energy, began to ring out with a powerful sound. The boy held it firmly, wondering what was happening. Dr. Gaia then used a dark, shadowy power called the Slave Bell to control his fiery wolf creatures. He ordered them to devour Toma, but Toma was still standing. 3 huge wolves, burning with bright flames, charged fiercely toward the young man. He lay bloody on the ground, surrounded by coins and the glow of the attacking beasts. The attackers were told to leave nothing behind, aiming to completely destroy the boy who dared to defy them. The sinister figure glowed with a dark aura and ordered the fiery wolves to attack. He commanded them to devour Toma, his sharp teeth showing in a cruel smile. Toma screamed out with a fierce determination, blood on his face, as a snarling monster lunged at him. He refused to give up, ready to fight for his sister's life, no matter the danger. Suddenly, a loud, agonizing scream pierced the air as someone cried out for Gaia. It was a cry filled with shock and betrayal. In the distance, a large, glowing structure floated in the sky, looking like a huge, shimmering crystal. It seemed to pulse with a mysterious light, a strange sight against the clouds. Suzu lay in her hospital bed, looking very weak, as she inwardly prayed to protect her big brother. Not long after, her brother Toma found himself in a fierce fight, surrounded by several menacing wolves that seemed to be made of fire. Suzu, with tears running down her face and her hands slowly turning to stone, offered a desperate prayer. She asked for protection for her big brother, knowing her own time was running out. Toma was badly hurt, his face stained with blood, but a glowing cross hung around his neck. A faint voice, almost like a prayer, seemed to come from his sister, asking for him to be protected. Despite his injuries, Toma stood up with fierce determination, surrounded by fiery wolf spirits. He declared that he'll take back the elixir. The young man held tightly to a small cross pendant, his hand bruised and covered in blood. He would never give up, driven by his desperate hope to cure Suzu. Because she's my only family. Someone wondered if it was truly love that drove him. Below, ethereal wolf-like spirits began to swirl and emerge from the shadows. Toma lay on the ground, seemingly defeated and surrounded. Fierce, Ghostly wolf-like creatures with fiery forms swirled around him, ready to strike. Suzu cried silently, asking for God to protect her big brother. Meanwhile, Toma was filled with sorrow and rage, promising himself that he would never give up. Suzu was his only family, and Toma's heart ached with the pain of her illness. He was filled with a desperate resolve to protect her. Toma held onto the image of his sister, her smile bright and full of hope. It was this vision that gave him the strength to keep going, no matter what danger he faced. Someone wondered if it was truly love. Is it? Below, ethereal wolf-like spirits began to swirl and emerge from the shadows. Toma lay on the ground, seemingly defeated and surrounded. Fierce, ghostly wolf-like creatures with fiery forms swirled around him, ready to strike. Just as all hope seemed lost, Toma suddenly felt a surge of power, glowing brightly with an intense blue light. Surrounding him, ghostly wolf figures appeared, ready to stand by his side. Toma, cornered by the ghostly wolves, suddenly let out a surprised sound as a strange, bright light began to glow from his body. His eyes, usually only good for sensing relics, now shone with an intense, powerful energy. Toma, hurt and on the ground, looked up at a strange, glowing blue figure that floated before him. The mysterious being gently reached out its hand towards him. The glowing energy reached out towards a small, old necklace hanging around his neck. Suddenly, a brilliant, golden light burst forth from the necklace. He held the powerful weapon he had suddenly gained. A bright, glowing aura surrounded him as he looked determined. Toma found himself surrounded by strange, fiery wolf-like creatures. A powerful blue energy swirled around him as he looked on in confusion. Toma slowly got back on his feet, glowing with a bright, unknown energy. Dr. Gaia and his guards looked on in complete shock. He stood up. Toma was suddenly surrounded by a powerful glowing aura as a mysterious light wrapped around him. He gripped the ancient weapon, utterly shocked by the unexpected power now coursing through him. A hand firmly gripped a weapon's hilt, which glowed with a bright blue energy. This mysterious item was known as Swordless. He held the mysterious, glowing sword tightly in his hand. Blue energy pulsed from the blade, ready to strike down his enemies. A mysterious, glowing energy formed a fiery shape in his outstretched hand, burning with a vibrant light. Below, the air shimmered with blue magical power, showing the strong energy around him. Toma stood glowing with a powerful blue light, looking completely changed. His sudden transformation completely shocked Dr. Gaia. Dr. Gaia looked very angry and yelled at the wolves, wondering why they were not attacking. He ordered them to hurry up and devour him. Toma found himself surrounded by flaming, wolf-like monsters. They rushed at him with burning rage, ready to tear him apart. The young man let out a powerful shout, and a bright glowing blue energy erupted from his mouth. This was the moment he created his aura blade creation. A powerful blue and white light burst forth with a blinding flash. It seemed like a sudden, strong energy was released all at once. The resulting slash moved with incredible speed and power. The blinding light sliced through the air, scattering the dark forms of the attacking wolves. The attack was overwhelming, leaving only streaks of blue light and destruction in its wake. Dr. Gaia screamed in horror. Impossible! He took down the wolves in one hit. He was utterly stunned. Plus, I thought he couldn't use weapons? What is that black weapon? Toma stood powerfully, enveloped in a blue aura mixed with yellow and red flames, holding his newly materialized weapon. Toma roared, demanding that the elixir be handed over immediately. He declared that the powerful medicine that belongs to Suzu. Toma stood strong, his eyes burning with a fierce green light. A bright blue flame enveloped his hand and weapon, ready to fight. Toma's eyes burned with fierce blue energy as he stood firm, demanding the elixir. He was ready to protect what belonged to his sister. The small bottle of elixir was the key, and Toma stood in the shattered ruins, a powerful blue aura swirling around him. The fight for his sister's cure was far from over. The defeated hunter, lying on the ground, still scoffed, thinking Toma was just lucky to have found a relic he could use. The hunter looked down on Toma, asking if an E rank could truly control such power, accusing him of just running wild. He reminded Toma that he was an A-rank hunter and boasted that their combat experience was vastly different. He promised to show Toma his true strength. As Toma watched him, his expression serious, his eyes glowing bright yellow. Suddenly, the A-rank hunter's body glowed as he summoned his equipment, an impressive display of power ready for battle. He proudly shouted about his ultimate equipment, assembled with money and relics squeezed from Toma's past victories. But in a shocking flash, Toma's attack easily shattered the hunter's powerful gear. As the hunter continued to yell about getting the best equipment, pieces of armor flew off, leaving the hunter stunned and exposed. The hunter looked down at the expensive equipment crumbled to pieces on the ground, a testament to Tauma's unexpected power. Overwhelmed with terror, the hunter screamed, completely confused about what Touma had done to him and his gear. Touma stood silently, a calm yet powerful presence, surrounded by mystical blue and pink energies from the relic he held. With his eyes glowing yellow, Touma declared there was no time to waste. Focused solely on retrieving the elixir, he ordered the defeated hunter to quietly hand it over. Touma felt every sensation in his body growing sharper and clearer, a powerful new feeling spreading through him as he held the relic. He now understood how to use the sword's power as new knowledge flowed into his mind. From the ground, the defeated hunter looked up, still bewildered, and asked what kind of relic Touma possessed. Suddenly, greed filled the hunter's eyes, and he declared he wanted the powerful relic for himself. He decided he would just take the relic, then began to brag about his own valuable possession. He showed Touma a golden relic, an item he had won at auction for 1 billion, boasting of its high grade. The hunter activated his golden relic, named Gluttony, which pulsed with a dark, hungry energy. Aion's spirit appeared beside Touma, calmly advising him to change the sword's blade. Sensing the upcoming battle, Aion explained that the current blade uses life energy as its edge, and it was wasteful to keep consuming it. Touma understood and replied, "Got it, I'll try," as he prepared to activate the sword's transformation, holding the relic and a piece of material. The sword transformed into the black sword Aion, whose ability is self-creation through reconstruction of all matter. Touma shouted, swordless, as he channeled energy into the relic, ready to unleash its power through creation. The sword vibrated with immense energy, completing its powerful process, resulting in the black iron blade. He now wielded the black iron blade, a solid and powerful form of the relic, ready for battle. Aion gently told Touma that was enough, urging him to swing the new sword and unleash its force. The greedy hunter, still underestimating Touma, smirked and thought Touma was already out of energy. The hunter then launched his special move, the Smiling Bomber, a huge fiery explosion aimed directly at Touma. A massive, fiery blade of energy surged forward, a destructive force speeding towards its target. The attack struck, causing a tremendous explosion that tore through the ground, creating a landscape of fire and rubble. But Touma stood firm, a glow in his eyes and Aion's watchful spirit behind him, preparing his counterattack. Touma unleashed a powerful, piercing blue beam that cut cleanly through the air and the remnants of the explosion. His blue energy attack dominated the battlefield, pushing back the fiery blast with incredible force. The hunter stood aghast, his powerful attack completely negated, staring at the clear sky where his fire once raged. His golden relic lay on the ground, shattered into tiny pieces, utterly destroyed. The hunter was left trembling, sweating, and overcome with fear and disbelief at his complete defeat. Touma approached him, and the terrified hunter quickly offered the elixir, holding it up, hoping to save himself. The hunter begged Touma to spare his life, promising to hand over the elixir without resistance. Suddenly, a sly look crossed the hunter's face as he tried to snatch the elixir back, but he found himself unable to move, trapped by Touma's unseen power, cursing his failed attempt. Touma, with a calm yet firm expression, stated that he would forgive what the hunter had done to him. However, his eyes blazed with anger as he declared he would never forgive what the hunter had done to Suzu. Driven by his fury, Touma unleashed a powerful strike, slamming the hunter hard onto the ground. Touma continued his relentless attack, hitting the hunter repeatedly, his anger for Suzu fueling every blow. The hunter was completely incapacitated, collapsing to the ground after Touma's brutal assault. Lying motionless and bleeding on the broken ground, the hunter was utterly defeated and unconscious. After dealing with the hunter, Touma faced a new threat, a group of grotesque monsters ready to attack. Touma, empowered by Aion, quickly dispatched the monsters, effortlessly cutting through them. With the battle over, Touma felt an incredible lightness in his body, a sign of Aion's power flowing through him. He looked at Aion's spirit, asking who he truly was and why he was helping him. Touma further questioned Aion, asking why he had chosen to help him in the fight. Aion explained that he had been terribly hungry for a long time, and just now he had feasted on something delicious. Aion revealed that he had consumed the profound love between Touma and his sister. Aion raised his arms in joy, proclaiming that the love he tasted was exquisite, making him feel wonderful. Touma was puzzled, asking if Aion had eaten his origami. Aion clarified that it was not exactly that, and introduced himself clearly, stating, Devourer of love, that is what I am. Toma looked confused by Aion's identity, but Aion further explained his purpose in consuming love. Aion explained that he chose to become a relic using Toma's origami, filled with his feelings for Suzu as his vessel. Toma realized that Aion was now dwelling within the sword made from that origami, and Aion confirmed it. Aion then introduced himself by his true name, a gentle smile gracing his face. His name was Aion, an existence banished from another realm. Aion declared that for the sake of love, he would be Toma's strength, enveloping Toma in a bright aura. Aion reiterated his promise, assuring Toma that he would provide him with the strength he needed. Toma ran desperately through the streets towards the hospital, his mind solely on Suzu. He burst into the hospital, praying that Suzu would still be okay. He raced through the corridors, begging to make it to Suzu in time, his heart pounding. He finally reached Suzu's room and saw her, still in a partially petrified state, his eyes filled with worry. Toma hurried to her bedside, his footsteps echoing in the quiet room. He gently reached out, touching her cold, petrified hand with tenderness. He felt the chilling coldness of her skin, and a tear escaped his eye, filled with despair. Toma desperately pleaded for Suzu's recovery, pouring out his anguish and hope. He sat by her bed, urging her to wake up, tears streaming down his face as he poured the elixir. Toma continued to beg, hoping his words and the elixir would bring her back to him. He choked back tears, pleading for her to call him Big Brother once more, longing for her voice. Suddenly, a soft glow surrounded Suzu, and her petrified form began to change. Suzu's eyes slowly opened, and she softly called out, "Big Brother?" looking at Toma with confusion. Toma's heart swelled with overwhelming joy, and he cried out, "Suzu!" in pure relief. He hugged her tightly, overjoyed that she was awake and responsive. Suzu smiled weakly, expressing her relief and happiness, while Toma could only say, "Yeah." Aion watched the heartwarming reunion, celebrating the outpouring of love and feeling truly alive. Aion held a glowing orb of pink light, marveling at how infinitely precious and wonderful this emotion was. He welcomed the new day, feeling the beauty of the world and the joy of life. Aion declared this to be life itself, the true meaning of existence, savoring the pure emotions around him. He reflected that the heart and love which civilization had abandoned existed right here and now in its most beautiful form. Aion observed the pure, loving tears between Toma and Suzu, seeing the profound power of their connection. He watched them for a moment, letting the sweet feelings linger. Aion then told Toma he hoped his sister would recover completely soon, which confused Toma. Aion asked Toma if he hadn't noticed anything, and told him to look at Suzu's chest. Toma and Suzu looked down in shock, realizing something was still very wrong. Toma's heart sank as he saw the petrification disease still present, though smaller, making him worry intensely. Toma, distressed, asked why only he could see Aion, who then explained that only Toma had that ability. Toma questioned why the elixir hadn't fully cured Suzu if it was supposed to heal all illnesses. Aion explained that what Toma calls the elixir, the white dragon's tears, can heal injuries and illnesses, but cannot remove the effects of relics. Toma looked up, startled, asking if Suzu's petrification disease was caused by a relic. Aion revealed the relic's name, Basilisk. Aion stated that to completely cure the petrification, Toma had no choice but to obtain it. Toma immediately asked where the basilisk relic was, ready to find it. Aion calmly told him there was no need to rush, as some elixir was still remaining in Suzu's body. He explained that the remaining elixir would suppress the disease's progression for several years, giving them time, and Toma felt relieved. Toma smiled, glad for the good news, while Suzu, unable to hear Aion, looked at her brother, wondering what he was mumbling about. Suddenly, a colossal white dragon, wreathed in blue flames, appeared outside, causing massive destruction. The white dragon attacked the hospital, sending debris flying and causing Suzu to scream and fall from her bed. Toma looked out the window, shocked and recognizing the monstrous creature. He realized with a gasp that it was the white dragon, the source of the recent chaos. Aion confirmed Toma's realization, simply stating, "Yes." Aion further explained that this white dragon was the boss of that ruin where Toma had found the elixir. The white dragon continued its furious rampage, tearing through the city with destructive blue energy. Toma quickly scooped up Suzu, carrying her to safety as the building crumbled around them. The white dragon roared, its eyes glowing yellow, as it sought out Aion, calling him creator of relics. Aion's expression turned serious, stating he wouldn't let the white dragon escape. More powerful attacks rained down from the white dragon, causing widespread destruction. Sharp, black projectiles with red markings rained down from the sky, hitting the city. Toma's eyes burned with fierce determination, declaring, "Don't mess around." He swore he wouldn't let the white dragon destroy this town where he lives with Suzu. He charged forward, yelling, "I won't let you destroy it." Suzu, holding onto Toma, cried out, "Big brother!" in worry as he prepared to face the dragon. Toma, gripping Aion's hilt, shouted, "Let's go, Aion," ready to confront the massive beast. Aion responded, "Very well," promising his strength if there is love there to protect. The mighty white dragon roared, its body glowing with fierce blue energy. Hunters looked on in fear, realizing the creature was far from harmless. They wondered where the powerful S-rank hunters were. One hunter asked if the Hunter Management Bureau had sent any new orders, but there was still no word. Despite their fear, the hunters decided to launch a desperate counterattack, hoping to hold out a little longer. Their attack struck the great beast, but it seemed to have little effect on the powerful dragon. The dragon's eyes showed a hint of annoyance, indicating the hunters' efforts were failing. They tried to form a defensive line, but large rocks began to fall from the sky, making it impossible to hold their ground. The ground shook as more debris crashed down, creating a scene of complete destruction around them. The white dragon continued its assault. The dragon's tail crackled with overwhelming blue energy as it swept through the area. Many hunters lay defeated on the ground, barely conscious, wondering what had just happened. One hunter, battered and exhausted, looked up at Toma, questioning why he was still there. The white dragon loomed over the fallen, its glowing eyes fixed on the remaining figure. Toma stood firm, looking determined, with a mysterious figure standing silently behind him. He stood his ground, ready to face the powerful creature alone. Toma held his broken sword, looking determined. A hunter thanked Toma, recognizing him as the E-rank pack mule, and Toma confirmed his rank with a small sweat drop. Toma smiled confidently at the hunter. The dragon prepared another powerful attack, and the other hunters were shocked. The hunters urged Toma to run, but he assured them everything would be okay while clutching his sword. Toma held his broken sword, believing he had finally found a relic he could truly use. Toma reached forward with his broken blade as the others desperately tried to stop him, fearing for his life. He stood still for a moment, waiting, but nothing seemed to happen. The other hunters shouted that nothing was working and told him to retreat, leaving Toma confused by their panic. The white dragon let out a mocking laugh, looking down at Toma, who still faced it bravely. The hunters cried out in confusion and urged him to fall back. The dragon then focused its glowing eyes on Toma. The dragon called Aion a speechless relic and ordered it to return to the ruins, as Toma looked worriedly at Aion. As attacks rained down, Toma tried to protect Aion, shouting in pain as a large beam struck near them. Toma lay wounded on the ground, calling out Aion's name after being knocked down. Toma asked Aion what was wrong, seeing the relic looking weak and tired. Aion suggested they go back to Suzu, claiming there was no love left in this place. Toma looked shocked, realizing Aion was completely drained of power. Aion felt these were just unnecessary emotions, like duty, fear, and rage, not love. Aion then floated up, saying it was getting hungry, which confused Toma given the serious situation. Toma exclaimed that this was no time to be talking about food. The other hunters, unaware of Aion, wondered who Toma was talking to, but agreed they needed to protect the defenseless boy. The dragon attacked again, and the hunters realized their shields were already at their limit, about to break. One brave hunter ordered the others to fall back. That hunter then charged forward, hoping to draw the dragon's attention away. He bravely launched an attack directly into the dragon's open mouth. The dragon seemed annoyed by the attack, letting out a grunt. Angered, the dragon retaliated with a furious attack, sending the hunter flying and screaming. Toma stood up, telling himself to calm down, as Aion hovered peacefully above him, glowing with light energy. Toma realized he had to convince Aion and called out its name. He asked Aion what was the difference between him saving Suzu and these people helping each other. Aion suggested that what Toma saw was just anger or a survival instinct, not true love. Aion firmly stated that these emotions were not love, but Toma suddenly seemed to understand something, shouting, "Love," while showing his hand. Toma held out his hand, showing Aion the word love written there, with a desperate look on his face. Aion was confused, remarking on a strange scent, but Toma urged it to look closely at his phone. Toma then showed Aion a long list of different kinds of love on his device, which greatly perplexed the relic. Touma loudly declared that all of these emotions were indeed human love. Aion was completely overwhelmed and shocked by Touma's explanation of human love. Touma showed images of humans, starting with a happy family as Aion reacted with shock. He continued to show images of family, lovers, and friends, all displaying various forms of connection. Touma explained that humans can feel love for everyone, even animals and nature itself. He showed Aion that love can be found in all kinds of things and places, overflowing with bright energy. Aion clutched its head, finding the human capacity for love inconceivable for its own species. Aion thought it was quirky and innovative, but couldn't quite accept it. Ultimately, Aion declared it was perverted, but Touma, undeterred, decided he could push through. Touma, standing above the earth, proudly declared he would gladly be a pervert if it meant embracing love. He shouted that the world overflows with love, and even the white dragon could feel its immense power. The powerful energy of love continued to surge, overflowing everywhere. Aion, seemingly influenced by Touma's words, began to float higher, absorbing the energy around it. Meanwhile, the white dragon was still ready to attack, charging up another powerful blast. One hunter looked on in despair. One hunter believed it was the end, sadly thinking about a cancelled wedding. Two hunters bravely shielded themselves, preparing for the dragon's next devastating blow. One hunter scolded the other, saying their shield relic was at its breaking point. The friend, who was the groom, told the other to stop talking and just go. The groom then apologized for the wedding gift money being short, as Aion sensed the pure love in his sacrifice. Aion, now transformed into a devotee of love, ascended into the sky, deeply moved by the human's affection. The hunters watched in awe as Aion realized it had almost overlooked something important amidst the dragon's assault. The white dragon unleashed another immense blast of blue energy. Touma swiftly used his obsidian blade, cutting through the dragon's flames with precision. The hunters watched in disbelief as the powerful flames were cleanly split in two. Touma smirked, confident in his ability to wield the blade. Aion observed the scene, now understanding and recognizing the different kinds of love, like romantic love and friendship. Aion looked at Touma, recognizing the love within him. Aion understood that Touma, too, protected others through love. Touma stood ready, holding his relic, seemingly having an internal conversation. Yet, Aion still asserted that Touma was not permitted to have ideology, desires, or freedom. Touma called out to Aion, demanding his sword to become bigger. He also wished for his sword to become harder, as the dragon raged on. And finally, Touma commanded his sword to become sharper, preparing for a decisive blow. The white dragon unleashed a massive ball of energy as Touma charged towards it, ready to strike. With swordless creation, Touma transformed his single blade into a flurry of smaller, sharp swords. He then held a single, powerful, glowing sword high above his head. This new creation was called the steel-cutting blade. Touma struck the dragon, but it seemed his powerful blade barely scratched its tough hide. The dragon declared the attack useless, despite the blade being hard. The other hunters quickly formed a protective barrier around Touma, telling him to escape. They bravely absorbed the dragon's attacks, ensuring Touma's safety. Touma insisted he was fine and urged them to run, while the dragon prepared countless blue energy orbs. The dragon, annoyed by their resistance, unleashed a barrage of attacks. The hunters realized there were too many attacks to block all at once. Aion advised Touma not to focus on the sword's shape, but rather on its ability to reconstruct matter. Touma understood that the power of creation was limitless, beyond just swords. The dragon fired another wave of attacks, commanding them to turn to ash. Touma then created an umbrella from his broken sword, expertly deflecting the incoming attacks. The umbrella shimmered, blocking all the destructive energy. He soared into the air, using the umbrella as both a shield and a platform. The giant umbrella shield protected all the hunters from the dragon's devastating attacks. The hunters looked up in shock, wondering what Touma had just done. They gasped, realizing it was an umbrella, even as stray blasts continued to fall. The umbrella held firm, absorbing the full force of the dragon's fury. The white dragon was stunned, seeing its powerful attacks completely nullified. The saved hunters cautiously asked if they were truly safe now. They looked towards Touma, amazed by what the pack mule boy had accomplished. Aion acknowledged Touma's clever creation of an umbrella, yet still believed Touma, as its master, was immature. Aion saw Touma still holding his broken sword, seemingly questioning his abilities. Aion challenged Touma, wondering what he could truly achieve with such a damaged weapon. Touma commanded the pieces of his broken sword to return to him. The broken parts flew back, reforming the sword. Touma leaped high into the air, holding his newly reformed weapon. He slammed his sword down, creating a powerful shockwave. The dragon roared again, stating that Toma's efforts were still useless. Touma, with a fierce shout, commanded his sword to transform. The sword changed its shape mid-air and struck the ground with renewed force. A blinding flash of light erupted from where the sword hit. The dragon recoiled, surprised by the sudden change in Toma's attack. Touma smirked, now holding a weapon shaped like a boomerang. He hurled the boomerang-like blade, which struck the ground with incredible force. Touma, filled with resolve, knew he needed to defeat a beast with scales harder than iron. He used swordless creation once more, crafting a large, curved blade from blue energy. Touma planted his feet firmly, preparing for his next move. The glowing blue sword pulsated with immense power in his hands. Touma let out a mighty shout, swinging his sword with all his strength. Aion mused that Touma could fight so freely with just a single word of advice. Aion watched Touma fight with such freedom, a look of intensity on his face. A swift blue streak cut through the air, indicating a powerful attack. The dragon was struck by a powerful red force, leaving it reeling. Aion was astonished by Touma's terrifying potential. The dragon's head thrashed, barely believing what was happening. The mighty dragon couldn't comprehend being bested by a mere child. Its massive body began to crack and break apart, turning into rubble. After delivering the final blow, the massive dragon started crumbling down amongst the debris. Touma fell to the ground, his sword also clattering beside him. Lying on the ground, Touma felt his body's strength rapidly fading away. He exclaimed in shock about his fading strength. His strength was indeed fading, leaving him weak. Above the ruined city, Aion floated, surrounded by a swirling vortex of energy. A soft, warm light began to emanate from Aion as light streamed down. Aion softly apologized, perhaps for its previous judgment, as the once mighty white dragon lay defeated and broken among the ruins. Touma's wounds suddenly healed, and he felt his body regain its full strength. He exclaimed that he could move so well. He realized that the white dragon's tears were healing everyone, including the injured hunters. Touma saw an elixir, perhaps the source of the healing, and offered an apology. He gently touched the dragon, thanking it for healing Suzu and all the others. Touma smiled at Aion, suggesting it was time for them to return to Suzu. Aion, however, paused to gulp down all the overflowing love energy, becoming quite plump in the process, much to Touma's shock. With a rainbow gracing the sky, Touma looked at the others, realizing he had actually defeated the white dragon. The other hunters stared in disbelief at the E-rank pack mule, who had just performed such an incredible feat. Back at the Hunter Management Bureau headquarters in Japan, news of the event spread quickly. The staff were astonished, unable to believe that an E-rank hunter had defeated the white dragon. Someone entered, and the staff exclaimed that it was truly incredible news. A mysterious figure walked into the director's office without permission, causing the staff to question their identity. The figure calmly sat in the director's seat, making the director realize it was his own chair. The mysterious person had sensed an extraordinary presence from the white dragon's ruins. They believed this presence surely belonged to the owner of an amazing relic, and felt fate was telling them something. This mysterious person was revealed to be the S-rank hunter, Haosho Kyoki, who had a strong and intense gaze. Haosho Kyoki smiled, giving an order for someone to go and meet Touma. Touma received a large sum of money after defeating the white dragon, marking the beginning of his new life with Suzu. He was holding what appeared to be a bank statement showing a large deposit of 50 million yen. Walking through the city at sunset, Aion, the white dragon spirit, commented on the potential of hunters. Touma was overjoyed, thinking he could now buy Suzu all the good food she deserved with the money. Aion playfully wondered if Touma's happiness also involved feelings of love, causing Touma to become a bit shy. The conversations with Aion now happened inside his mind, as Touma continued walking towards home. Back home, Suzu, Touma's younger sister, eagerly greeted him as he returned, holding a spatula. Touma beamed, enjoying his first peaceful meal with Suzu in years, finally living a life alone with his sister. Aion observed the happy scene over the table, sensing that Suzu's homemade cooking was filled with love for her brother. Touma clasped his hands together, expressing his gratitude and happiness for the meal. Suddenly, a blonde woman, seemingly from a national authority, appeared and praised Suzu's cooking, much to Touma's surprise. Suzu replied she was glad he liked it, while Touma was startled, wondering who this unexpected visitor was. Touma's eyes widened in shock as he wondered who this stranger was. The blonde woman ate a mouthful of rice with a knowing smile, staring directly at Touma. Suzu questioned if the visitor was one of Touma's colleagues, but Touma was confused, asking if she was Suzu's friend. Toma instinctively shielded Suzu as she looked confused by the woman's introduction, who called out for Suzu-chan seconds please. Toma quickly suggested they talk outside to keep their conversation private from Suzu. Later, outside in the evening near a playground, Toma asked Kyoki about her purpose. Kyoki revealed she knew Toma was searching for a specific relic, referencing his access history on the Bureau's website. Toma admitted he was looking for a relic called Basilisk, and asked if she knew anything about it. Kyoki explained that his low E rank prevented him from viewing the classified relic information, which only A-rank hunters could access. Kyoki pointed toward a ranking graphic, explaining that viewing privileges were granted once a hunter reached A-rank. Toma was disheartened, feeling that becoming an A-rank was a distant dream for an E-rank like him. Kyoki then showed an image of Toma defeating the White Dragon, stating that this accomplishment was more than enough. She offered him a special qualification to take the A-rank hunter exam, shocking Toma since he was still E-rank. Kyoki clarified that it was a special exception due to subjugating the White Dragon. Toma realized that gaining access to this information would help him get closer to finding the Basilisk. He connected finding the Basilisk to a potential cure for Suzu's petrification disease. Toma looked puzzled, silently questioning what Kyoki's condition could be. With a bright, almost mischievous smile, Kyoki asked Toma to lend her money, looking radiant. Toma looked up at the bright sky, confused by her request. He nervously checked his remaining balance on his card, seeing it was almost gone after her strange request. Kyoki explained that Toma had saved her from being sold to a circus troupe in South America due to her large debt, making Toma wonder who she owed money to. Toma was horrified by Kyoki's intense reaction to the thought of paying back the debt, especially since it was a fate he wanted to avoid. Kyoki quickly changed the subject, assuring him he would pay her back, and announced they had arrived at their destination. Toma looked up in awe at the massive stone structure, realizing it was the site for the A-rank hunter selection exam. He observed the other examinees, noting that they all looked incredibly strong and imposing. Kyoki told Toma she would wait around, as Toma looked at her with a mix of concern and annoyance. The examiner, a man with glasses, scolded Kyoki for being 2 minutes late, mentioning her debt to him. Toma realized that this stern man was the person who had lent money to Kyoki and was threatening her with the circus. The examiner then formally introduced himself to the candidates as Hakoe Koya, an A-rank hunter. He explained the exam was to fill the open spot left by another A-rank hunter, Kiritani Gaia. The examinees were surprised, recognizing Kiritani as a famous Dr. Hunter, while one person in a tree looked lucky. Toma wondered why such a powerful hunter, who even possessed a golden relic, would have left a vacancy. Hakoe, however, dismissed the idea of quotas, stating that truly talented individuals did not need them. He declared that anyone he approved would be promoted to A rank, surprising the hopeful candidates. Some examinees felt lucky, while Kyoki just smiled, finding Hakoe's statement a bit too casual. Hakoe then announced the test method was simple, creating a large glowing circle on the ground. All the examinees stood around the massive circle, which stretched far into the distance, ready for the test to begin. He explained that they must stay inside the circle for 5 minutes without falling, or push him out, or defeat him. The examinees quickly understood the test was basically a form of sumo wrestling. Hakoe assured them his body was just a clone, so they should attack him with everything they had, without holding back. Most of the examinees, including Toma, eagerly shouted their readiness to take on the challenge. Toma thought about the risks of using his dragon scale blade, and decided he had no choice but to rely on his steel-cutting blade instead. He prepared his steel-cutting blade, its blue energy flickering to life as he crouched low. With a calm and confident expression, Hakoe declared the exam officially begun. Hakoe instantly moved with incredible speed, striking down an examinee who was swinging a weapon. In a flash, many examinees were sent flying out of the circle, defeated by Hakue's unseen speed. The remaining examinees looked around in disbelief, utterly confused by what just happened to their comrades. They were terrified, realizing they couldn't even register Hakue's lightning-fast movements. Hakue looked down at the defeated, calling their performance lamentable. He criticized them for relying too much on relics, comparing them to Kiritani Gaia, whom he considered the weakest A rank. Hakue called Kiritani Gaia a small fry who became strong only by scraping together money for relics. He stated that most of the current examinees could easily replace Kiritani. However, Hakue then added that mission failure was unacceptable for A-rank hunters, implying severe consequences for weakness. He sternly declared that he would not permit weaklings to call themselves a rank. The remaining examinees looked terrified, shaking from Hakue's overwhelming presence and power. Meanwhile, At the Hunter Management Bureau, officials observed the exam from afar on monitors. They noted that, despite the examinees having A-rank level abilities, it seemed no one would pass this time either. A senior official understood Hakuei's strict philosophy. He was S-rank material but remained A-rank to personally select worthy candidates. The official concluded that Hakuei's screening process was far too rigorous, as Hakuei was seen easily defeating multiple opponents at once. Hakuei had a history of brutally defeating every single A-rank candidate who challenged him. Indeed, no one had ever passed his A-rank exam before, which was implied by the official's conversation. The fallen examinees cried out in frustration and despair, realizing the futility of their efforts against Hakuei. One observer acknowledged Hakuei's status as the top A-rank hunter based on his current performance. Another examinee, Komo Hayate, confidently stated that Hakuei's clone body should only have about 1/10 of his true strength. Komo Hayate then activated his own powerful golden weapon relic, preparing for a strike. Touma and the other examinees were amazed by Hayate's glowing golden weapon relic. Touma noticed that the golden relic's power felt completely different and far stronger than Kiritani Gaia's. Hayate charged forward, letting out a loud cry as he prepared to strike with his weapon. Hayate unleashed a powerful attack called Hero's Epic, directly at Hakuei. To everyone's shock, Hakuei effortlessly blocked the powerful golden relic attack with a small ordinary knife. Hayate and the other examinees stared in utter disbelief at Hakuei's simple yet effective defense. The examinees were dumbfounded, unable to comprehend how Hakuei stopped a golden weapon relic with just a store-bought knife. Hayate's face twisted in anger and frustration, as he declared he would now get serious. Hayate's eyes glowed fiercely, showing his resolve to unleash his full power against the examiner. Hayate quickly spun, attempting to bypass Hakuei's defense and land a blow. However, Hakuei calmly stepped outside the circle, leaving the other examinees confused if he was giving up the match. Hayate was perplexed, wondering why Hakuei would leave the circle when he had him cornered, and stared intently at Hakuei's knife. To everyone's shock, it was confirmed that Hakuei's blade was just a regular, store-bought knife, not a relic at all. Hayate, filled with frustration, refused to accept defeat and declared he was not done yet. Hakuei looked thoughtfully at Touma, observing his unwavering spirit amidst the chaos. Hakuei considered fleeing a strategy, but realized Touma wasn't backing down from the fight. Touma explained that he was looking for a specific relic and needed to become A-rank to achieve his goal. He gripped his blade tightly, emphasizing his determination to reach A-rank for Suzu. Touma affirmed that no matter how difficult the path to obtain Basilisk, he absolutely would not back down. Hakuei smiled, sensing a deep passion and strong resolve within Touma as the fight resumed. Touma launched an attack, but Hakuei easily parried it with his simple knife. Touma continued his relentless assault, clashing repeatedly with Hakuei despite the defense. He struggled against Hakuei's strong defense, feeling the immense power of his opponent's parries. Touma felt like he was fighting an unstoppable typhoon, with only 2 minutes remaining in the exam time limit. Hakuei acknowledged Toma's spirit, admitting that this fight was good training. He noted that Touma was able to keep up with his attacks by transforming his blade. Hakuei was impressed that Touma did not let his guard down, even against attacks from an ordinary knife. Hakuei realized he couldn't push Touma to his full potential with just a knife, so he dropped it onto the ground. Touma looked surprised as Hakuei stood before him, now completely unarmed, ready to fight seriously. Hakuei's body glowed with power, and he charged at Touma, who met him with a burst of his own energy. Touma was pushed back by Hakuei's raw physical strength, struggling to maintain his stance against the onslaught. Despite the heavy blows, Touma held his ground, enduring Hakuei's powerful physical attacks. Toma's steel-cutting blade began to crackle with lightning, giving him an advantage against Hakuei's physical strikes. Hakuei was genuinely surprised that Touma was still standing after enduring that level of assault. Hakuei asked Touma if he still wouldn't back down, as Touma looked up with defiant eyes. Touma continued to press forward, his determination unwavering against Hakuei's immense power. Hakuei admitted that Touma was truly strong, on an entirely different level compared to the others. Touma, with fierce resolve showing on his face, declared again that he would not back down. His face showed absolute determination, stating he simply could not give up on his goal. Blue energy surged around Toma's blade, preparing for a powerful transformation under the intense pressure. Touma fully activated his ultimate weapon, transforming his blade into the Radiant Dragon Scale Blade. The intense battle continued between the two fighters, even after all the powerful moves they had shown. The challenger, looking up, was asked if he still wouldn't give up. With a determined look and glowing blue energy, he shouted that he would not back down. He powered up his weapon, the dragon scale blade, glowing with blue energy. He was ready for another fierce attack with the dragon scale blade. The two fighters stood ready on the field, the air buzzing with their power. Someone watching was surprised that Hakue-kun had brought out a golden weapon relic during the exam. Other onlookers wondered if the black relic the other boy was holding was a new type, as most weapon relics only came in bronze, silver, or gold. An older man watching had a strong feeling about the black relic. He had a hunch that it might be even rarer than a gold-grade relic. The two fighters stood ready on the field, the air buzzing with their power. The main character thought to himself that he could no longer use his steel-cutting blade. He realized that the iron in his blade would attract the lightning attacks, making it too dangerous. His obsidian blade wasn't strong enough, and for some reason, he couldn't create an aura blade anymore. He knew he had the dragon scale blade, but he could only use its full power for one single swing. He decided that he had to put everything he had into this one final strike. With a burst of speed and lightning, the main character rushed towards his opponent. He continued his attack, trading powerful blows with his adversary. Even though he dodged the lightning, each hit from his opponent felt incredibly heavy. But then, he noticed there were fewer attacks coming his way than before. He understood that his opponent's weapon was longer, making it harder for them to control it. The opponent's blade had changed, but he still seemed to be waiting, not attacking. Even when there was a small chance to attack, the opponent never took his eyes off him. The opponent was waiting for the perfect moment to unleash a powerful single strike. He then prepared for his big attack, ready to strike when the time was right. The main character realized his opponent was looking for a huge opening to land a decisive blow. Suddenly, the opponent appeared right in front of him. The main character reacted with a shocked expression, surrounded by electric energy. The opponent warned him not to jump carelessly into sudden openings. The opponent unleashed a powerful electrical attack. The attack slammed into the ground, causing a massive explosion. People watching were startled by the blast, while the opponent calmly acknowledged that the main character had dodged well. He praised the main character's ability to dodge, but mentioned that such skill was only impressive up to a B rank. He added that if the main character had someone to protect, he would be even weaker. The opponent warned that with something to protect, the main character would have a much harder time dealing with him. With only 30 seconds left in the exam, the main character felt overwhelmed by his powerful foe. He looked at his opponent, sensing the immense, overpowering strength he possessed. Suddenly, a ghostly figure of Touma appeared next to him, getting his attention. Touma told him he had become worse at controlling him, and the main character looked confused, asking what he meant. Touma explained that relics work using a special power called Guide Force. He told the main character to listen carefully, showing that just holding a relic gives a small benefit. While holding a relic offers minor advantages, it's not enough. But by actively drawing Guide Force from the relic, like the opponent does, one's physical abilities get a huge boost. The opponent's powerful attacks clearly showed the effects of using Guide Force. The main character asked if he could use that power too, and Touma confirmed he was already doing it without realizing. The main character was confused by Toma's words as the opponent continued his fierce attacks. He grunted in pain, feeling the force of the blows and coughing up blood. Touma reminded him of his previous fight against the doctor. The main character remembered how he cleverly defeated the White Dragon without even manipulating Guide Force. Touma had been very impressed by his resourcefulness back then. However, Touma warned him that his current way of fighting wouldn't be enough to beat the four-eyed opponent. He then told the main character to imagine something important. Touma told him that the opponent's words held some truth. He instructed the main character to imagine his beloved sister standing behind him, depending on him for protection. A vision of his sister appeared, her gentle voice calling out to her big brother. A surge of new energy coursed through the main character. He powered up, surrounded by intense blue energy and smoke, ready to fight again with new resolve. Touma told him that this feeling, the will to protect his loved ones, would become his greatest strength. The main character's blade glowed with an even brighter blue energy. He launched into a powerful attack. He continued his assault, pushing back against his opponent. The force of their clash shattered the ground around them, sending debris flying. The onlookers were completely amazed by the sudden increase in the main character's power. The opponent adjusted his glasses, surprised and curious about the incredible strength the main character was now showing. He wondered about this amazing power, while Touma, in spirit form, smiled, saying this was the true Touma he knew. The main character felt lighter and more agile than ever before. He laughed, realizing he could now land many hits on his opponent. The opponent was puzzled, wondering why the main character had suddenly become so much stronger. He realized that the main character was now using guide force manipulation, a skill that had taken him 5 years to master. He was astonished that an E-rank hunter had quickly learned and used this advanced technique in such a critical moment. The opponent then thought to himself that he had finally found someone truly worthy. He recognized the main character as someone who deserved to be an A-rank hunter. The battle continued with furious energy, sparks flying as their powers clashed. Inside the exam room, the observers were confused, unable to see through the powerful energy. With only 20 seconds left, they wondered if the main character would pass. The director, with another one of his unique insights, had a feeling. He had a strong hunch that the main character might just pass the challenging exam. I've finally found him. Someone worthy of bearing the A rank. The two fighters clashed with furious energy. Outside, others cheered for the main character, urging him on as the clock showed only 5 seconds remaining. 4. With only 3, then 2 seconds left, the tension reached its peak. As the final second ticked down, the main character landed a decisive blow. At that very instant, both Hakuei and Touma sensed entirely different threats approaching them. Without waiting for the exam to officially end, both of them immediately left the testing area. The other participants were left confused, asking where they went and what would happen to the exam now. The exam timer hit 0, and the sky began to darken, leaving everyone puzzled. A person watched as Hakuei, in a white shirt, flew off into the distance. They talked about the suspicious person who left and how amazing Hakuei was during the exam. He then thought about Touma, the one he had recommended for the exam. He looked worried, sensing that something bad was happening. He noticed a strange sky hole opening up in the distance. The sky hole looked like a swirling vortex, a truly alarming sight. Outside, others cheered for the main character, urging him on as the clock showed only 5 seconds remaining. 4. Touma ran through the forest, followed by his guide, who asked him about the exam he just left. Touma said something more important was happening. He had seen a dark, evil presence deep in the forest. It was the same kind of evil presence he had felt from Suzu before. Both he and Hakuei sprinted through the dense forest, following the sinister presence. They met another person who recognized them as being from the hunter exam. The two people from the exam were suddenly frozen, looking completely scared. The person with glasses warned everyone to be careful, saying it might be a dangerous stray monster. Touma looked serious, while the person who had been about to take a piss commented on how dangerous the situation suddenly became. Touma then asked the glasses-wearing person if they were a relic, which confused them. Touma explained that he could see the presence of relics, but he clarified that this presence wasn't coming from a relic someone was holding. This strong presence felt like it was coming from the relic itself, as if the relic was alive. The glasses-wearing person asked if Touma was okay, saying he wasn't making any sense. Touma, realizing his words were confusing, tried to ask his question in a different way. He then directly asked the glasses-wearing person, "Don't tell me you're Basilisk." A purple aura flared around the glasses-wearing person, who was shocked that Touma knew that name. The person, now radiating a dark purple energy, revealed their true identity, addressing Touma as a human. Touma, surrounded by blue light, demanded that the person revert to their original form. With intense, glowing eyes, Touma loudly commanded the figure to turn back right now. With intense, glowing eyes, Touma loudly commanded the figure to turn back right now. With intense, glowing eyes, Touma loudly commanded the figure to turn back right now. With intense, glowing eyes, Touma loudly commanded the figure to turn back right now. With intense, glowing eyes, Touma loudly commanded the figure to turn back right now. With intense, glowing eyes, Touma loudly commanded the figure to turn back right now. With intense, glowing eyes, Touma loudly commanded the figure to turn back right now. With intense, glowing eyes, Touma loudly commanded the figure to turn back right now. Touma screams, demanding the enemy turn the petrified person back right now. He swings his sword in a fierce battle against an opponent, while a man in glasses washes with a sly smile. Touma yells out "Basilisk," confronting the mysterious enemy. A powerful clash of attacks fills the air as Touma continues his intense fight. The sound of impact rings out as the two forces meet. The man in glasses, the enemy, surprisingly catches Touma's blade with his bare hand. Touma looks shocked, unable to believe his sword was caught so easily, exclaiming he caught it with bare hands. The enemy tells Touma he has everything wrong as their fight rages on. Touma struggles, finding his sword stuck, and feels his sword won't move. The enemy then admits to turning that guy to stone, but pauses before continuing. Touma asks what he means, while the enemy looks curiously at Touma's sword, remarking he's never seen such a relic. The enemy stares at the sword, remembering something about a creepy presence. He questions if Aion turned himself into a relic, suggesting Aion might be a relic's inner consciousness. The battle continues as Touma launches another attack. The enemy ponders what Basilisk would gain the most from this situation. He then realizes Touma is definitely connected to Basilisk somehow. Later, the enemy grins, as if a new thought has just clicked into place, saying, "I don't know." He quickly changes his mood, dismissing Touma with an annoyed expression, saying, "Whatever." He easily knocks Touma to the ground, showing his power. The enemy prepares to stomp on Touma, who lies injured, declaring, "I'll kill you." Suddenly, Aion appears, blocking the enemy's attack with a powerful force, accompanied by his own battle cries. Aion observes the enemy, recognizing the unique relic he possesses as he states, "As I thought, that's..." Aion identifies the weapon as the Spider Sword Ensem. Aion confirms Touma's earlier deduction was correct, stating, "It appears he is a relic itself." Aion explains that the enemy is a relic himself, a personality inside a relic, much like Aion, who has managed to get a physical body. Aion speculates that Basilisk might be similar, but Touma interrupts, yelling, "Hey!" Touma, now back on his feet, angrily demands to know why the enemy is turning people to stone. The enemy calmly replies that he is simply following Basilisk's orders. Touma, enraged, asks how many people have been turned to stone, but the enemy dismisses it as a cruel question. The enemy compares counting victims to plucking nose hairs, showing his indifference as an image of a petrified person appears. Touma, furious, prepares another powerful attack, charging up his energy. Their clash creates a huge burst of energy. The enemy boasts that Touma cannot cut him, because relics are practically indestructible, referencing the damage done. Aion steps in, asking the enemy if he was the one who made relics indestructible, and states it's time to get serious. The enemy pulls out a second weapon, declaring he now has double the attacks. He smirks, challenging Touma to see how he will handle this new level of power. Touma, with electricity sparking around him, prepares for a fierce counterattack, thinking today's. Touma unleashes a powerful move called Lightning Spirit Chain Dance. His lightning chains swirl around, striking the enemy. The Lightning Spirit Chain Dance continues its dazzling assault. The enemy realizes that Touma knows his true name, Torres, saying, "Torres, huh?" and thinking, so this guy knows the relic's true name too. Hakoke-san appears to help Touma, calling out to him, "Hakoke-san!" Hakoke-san looks serious and ready for battle. Hakoke-san charges forward, staff in hand, aiming for the enemy. The enemy counters by creating multiple glowing clones of himself to attack Hakoke-san. The clones are introduced as Husho Hime-san is, as they surround Hakoki-san. Hakoke-san finds himself overwhelmed by the numerous clones. The clones continue their relentless barrage of attacks against Hakoki-san. Hakoki-san, surprised by their speed, questions their technique, as the enemy replies, "You're fast." The enemy, Torres, reveals that his weapons are an extension of his own body. He continues his furious assault on Hakoke-san, noting Touma's previous assessment of a two-sword relic. Aion realizes that the enemy is not just a dual-wielding relic, noting, "No, that's not it." Aion discovers that the enemy is actually using 4 chained swords, not just 2, exclaiming, "4 swords!" The enemy skillfully spins his multiple chained blades around Hakoki-san. Hakoke-san takes a heavy hit from the enemy's chained attack. Aion observes the fight, realizing the enemy wasn't going all out against Touma before. Aion urgently calls out to Touma, telling him to wait while Touma is focused. Touma, focused intently, prepares his next move while Hakoki-san fights, not noticing Aion's warning. Touma launches a powerful attack, thinking his attacks might get through while the enemy is focused on Hakoki. Aion yells at Touma to fall back and stay calm, stating he needs information about Basilisk. Touma is about to strike, unaware of the enemy's full power, as Aion tries to warn him to fall back. Aion prepares to reveal the enemy's true nature with intense focus. Aion warns everyone that the opponent, Ensem, is an 8-bladed weapon relic, showing Touma attacking the enemy. Touma stares in horror as he fully sees the opponent's true, multi-bladed form. Touma is utterly shocked by this sudden revelation of 8 blades flying around. Touma reacts with shock, seeing the imminent danger. Blood splatters across the ground, indicating a severe injury has occurred to someone. The opponent, Ensem, seems confused, realizing Hakoke-san took the attack instead of Touma. Hakoki-san falls, having shielded Touma from the deadly attack, with Touma calling out his name. Hakoke-san is severely wounded, and blood spills onto the ground. Lying injured, Hakoki-san reflects that this is what happens when one only looks forward. He reminds Toma that hunters always have those they must protect behind them. Hakoki-san explains that with a narrow view, focused on only one thing, one cannot protect those behind them. Toma watches in distress as Hakoki-san's clone begins to fade away, realizing his own shocked expression. Hakoki-san, fading away, acknowledges Toma as an A-rank hunter. He gives Toma a mission for 5 minutes, until his real body can arrive, reaching out to him. He tells Toma that now it's his turn to protect others, assuring him he is capable. Hakoki-san confirms that Toma is the only one he has acknowledged as an A-ranked hunter as he disappears. Toma realizes that the Hakoki-san he was fighting with was just a lightning clone, seeing the real enemy. The real opponent, Aion, finds fighting Toma uninteresting and considers his next steps, bringing out surveillance drones. Aion decides to eliminate everyone who knows about his existence, saying, "Let's see." He surveys the scared crowd below, planning to attack them. Toma stands firm, determined to stop Aion from creating any more victims, saying, "No more." Toma reflects on how he was only thinking about himself, recalling Suzu, Aion, and Hakoki-san. He realizes he was too self-focused and couldn't keep relying on others for protection, only seeing his own circumstances. Toma makes a solemn vow to cure Suzu, realizing he can't just keep being protected. But before that, he declares he will protect what Hakoki-san entrusted to him. Toma looks resolute, promising to protect what Hakoki-san entrusted to him, and questions why Aion took human form. Toma begins to piece together the full understanding of the situation, thinking he must find out why Aion took human form. Aion tells Toma that all blades created with swordless creation have special powers. Aion instructs Toma to use the unique ability of the dragon scale blade as they prepare to use it. Toma and Aion stand together, ready to unleash the dragon scale blade's special power. They prepare to use this power to defeat Aion, urging to cut him down. A stern-faced man with glasses gives an order, telling someone not to let anyone pass for 5 minutes until his real body can arrive. Toma receives a mental message, learning that all the blades created with swordless creation have special powers. The message continues to explain that each of these specially created blades holds a unique property. Toma is instructed to use the special power of the dragon scale blade and cut down his enemy. Meanwhile, the enemy, a man with spiky hair and glasses, stares with a confident, unsettling smile, surrounded by a fierce, fiery glow. He declares that he will teach his opponent how true dragons breathe fire, with flames erupting all around him. The story begins with Chapter 7, showing a distant view of mountains and a forest. Hey now, the spiky-haired enemy stands ready to fight, commenting that Toma seems to be deep in thought. Suddenly, the enemy attacks, sending a barrage of spiked chain blades toward Toma, reminding him they are in the middle of a battle. The enemy mocks Toma, saying he doesn't know what Toma is planning, but he won't last 5 minutes against the onslaught. Toma struggles, dodging and deflecting the sharp blades, which leave marks on the ground where they strike. Ugh! He quickly realizes that 2 more blades are coming straight at him from the front. Toma swiftly blocks one of the incoming blades with his own sword, causing sparks to fly from the blind spot. However, another blade quickly strikes him from his blind spot, catching him off guard. Before he can recover, 6 more blades appear around Toma, trapping him. Toma is hit by several attacks, grimacing in pain as he tries to keep fighting. He continues to block the rapid attacks, sparks flying as his sword parries the glowing blades. Toma realizes he will be defeated if he keeps defending like this against the relentless attacks. The enemy taunts Toma, saying that just thinking won't solve anything in this fight. At this rate, I'll be done for. The chains with blades swing and spiral around, ready to strike from all directions. Toma moves quickly, his feet kicking up dust as he avoids more incoming blades. The enemy increases his pressure, sending more blades down, while Toma looks on with a determined but strained expression. Toma stares intently, preparing himself for the next wave of attacks. He skillfully deflects a flurry of blades, his sword glowing blue with energy. "Prepare yourself!" The enemy watches Toma with a thoughtful look, trying to understand his opponent's moves. He starts to figure out Toma's strategy, realizing what the hero was really thinking about. Toma had been focusing all his limited guide force on his vision and arms to react faster. "Oh, so this is what you were thinking about." But the enemy points out that guide force also acts as armor, implying Toma left himself vulnerable elsewhere. "You focused your limited guide force." He reminds Toma that if an attack hits an unprotected spot, the fight would be over. Only on dynamic vision and your arms. Despite the danger, the enemy acknowledges Toma's strong resolve, But guide force is also armor. Touma stands his ground, continuing to defend against the circling blades. If an attack hits an unprotected area, it's over. The enemy calls Touma's resolve pathetic, suggesting he's just stalling for time until the person with glasses arrives. Steeled your resolve! He then challenges Touma, telling him to stop being defensive and attack with all his power. Touma remains silent, simply glaring at his opponent with a bead of sweat on his face. The enemy expresses his insult, saying he is not foolish enough to fall for such weak attacks. But what a pathetic resolve. In the end, you're just stalling till Four Eyes arrives, right? His arm begins to glow with an intense golden energy, showing he is about to unleash a stronger attack. Don't go on the defensive. Come at me with everything. Anonsem, the ghostly figure, realizes that his enemy still hasn't used the full power of his relic. Besides, I'm insulted. A quick vision shows Touma enveloped in a powerful fiery explosion, hinting at the relic's devastating ability. The enemy decides he needs to finish the fight quickly before the Four Eyes person arrives and causes more trouble. Anonsem still hasn't. With newfound resolve, he states his intention to end the battle right there. Used the relic's skill yet, he unleashes his powerful attack, Anwu Anansi Curse Nest Severance, with a large spiked weapon. The message continues to explain that each of these specially created blades holds a unique property. The attack carves a deep trench in the ground, showing its destructive power. I'll end this now. Touma barely avoids a direct hit, but the attack still causes a wound on his shoulder. Anwu Anansi Cursed Nest Severance. The enemy continues his relentless assault, making the ground shake with his powerful blows. Anonsem appears behind Touma, warning him that this is the critical moment. Touma clashes with the enemy's massive weapon, causing a huge burst of light and sparks. Now, Touma. He barely manages to deflect a blow that was aimed straight at his head. This is the critical moment. Touma yells out, pushing back against the enemy's attack with all his might. He holds his sword firm, blocking the immense weapon and struggling to withstand the pressure. The enemy grunts, surprised by Touma's unexpected resistance and strength. Sha! Touma shouts, urging himself to shave him down and break through the enemy's defense. Guh! The enemy feels his arms straining, feeling like they are about to be blown away from the impact. Shave him down! Touma sees the enemy's next attack coming, his face twisted in a look of intense effort and determination. He pushes forward, motivated by the memory of someone he needs to protect. My arms feel like they'll be blown away. Touma thinks about his promise, knowing it's his turn to protect those important to him. He grits his teeth, refusing to give up even as his legs tremble. Touma screams, proclaiming that he will not lose this fight. He lets out a loud battle cry, channeling all his strength into his counterattack. The enemy watches, noting that Touma's spirit alone might not be enough to win. He then notices Touma's blade is glowing a vibrant red, wondering if it always had that color. Anonsem's voice returns to Touma, promising to teach him the secret of how dragons breathe fire. Wait, his was it this red before? He explains that dragons layer their scales many times to build up power. I'll teach you how dragons breathe fire. This process converts all incoming impact into incredible power, which they then absorb into their bodies, much like storing energy for a massive attack. Dragons layer their scales and rub them together countless times, converting that impact into power and absorbing it into their bodies. Anonsem reveals that the dragon scale blade has a special property related to this dragon power. The blade's ability is to accumulate impact and then release it all at once, like a stored explosion. In other words, the dragon scale blade's special property is the enemy suddenly feels a deep sense of dread, realizing something dangerous is about to happen. Impact accumulation and release. His instincts go wild, and he understands that Touma's defensive strategy was not just stalling, but a way to charge his blade. Oh crap! Something seriously dangerous. My instincts are going crazy. Don't tell me! Anonsem shouts to Touma, telling him to strike now. Swing through! The enemy quickly moves, determined not to let Touma land his powerful attack. Like, I'd let you! Touma screams, activating the full power of his dragon scale blade. The pure white background highlights the intensity of the moment, as all focus shifts to the impending clash. A massive explosion of fire erupts, blasting the enemy backward. The enemy is caught in the fiery blast, his face showing shock and pain. Touma lets out a powerful roar as his red-hot blade glows with intense energy. A fiery, dragon-like aura surrounds Touma, signifying the release of his accumulated power. The dragon scale blade impacts the enemy's weapon with devastating force, creating a huge fiery burst. The enemy is utterly stunned by the power, asking in disbelief what just happened. What? He screams with effort, struggling desperately against the overwhelming fiery push from Toma's blade. Goo! The enemy cries out that he can't push Toma back, his face contorted in agony. Damn, I can't push it back! My arms! His weapon shatters into pieces, and he feels like his arms are being torn apart from the sheer force. The enemy is driven to his knees, his defense is completely broken by Toma's attack. Toma delivers a powerful final kick, sending the weakened enemy flying. The enemy is blasted away in a spiraling vortex of fire, utterly defeated. Broken pieces of his weapon scatter as the enemy flies backward through the air. Toma stands victorious, his body radiating a powerful red glow, his blade brimming with residual energy. Toma unleashed his dragon scale blade, a powerful attack that created a fiery explosion as he shouted, "Release!" The enemy, Como, screamed in pain as he was caught in the blast. Toma's attack continued to rip through the air, showing his incredible power. The powerful strike completely overwhelmed Como. Kumo was sent flying, pieces of his stony body breaking off as he fell. He landed hard on the ground, groaning as the impact shook him, crying out, "Ga-ah!" Toma, breathing heavily, stood firm, the battle finally over, watching the fragments settle on the grass. He knelt down, feeling the lingering power of his dragon scale blade and reflecting on its special property. It accumulates the impacts received by the blade and releases them all at once. Toma thought about how using such immense power meant that if he hadn't reinforced his arms with guide force, his arm bones would have shattered. He then turned his attention to the defeated enemy Anonsem, asking him to reveal everything he knew about Basilisk. Anonsem lay on the ground, struggling to speak, clearly unwilling to give up information easily, but stating, "I'll never betray him." Toma got angry, yelling, "Don't mess around." Aion appeared, stating Anonsem's time was up, and he would give Toma one piece of information as a gift. Aion looked at Toma with an intense, focused gaze. Anonsem began to dissolve into purple dust, his features distorted in his final moments. Toma watched with a serious expression, holding the dragon scale blade as the purple dust swirled around him. Aion stood nearby as Anonsem dissolved, muttering about, "Our revenge." Aion maintained a stoic expression, looking toward the distance. Aion then stated that Basilisk wouldn't lose their revenge, leaving Toma looking confused. Toma looked up at Aion, asking what he meant by revenge. Aion began to explain, saying that he created all the weapon relics, including Anonsem, to make them stronger and more durable. He admitted that he took one life for each relic created, stating, "It had to be done," as images of terrifying monsters flashed. He felt it was necessary because their world was threatened by many terrifying monsters. They used those powerful weapon relics to protect many lives, depicted by hooded figures standing over defeated monsters. However, the situation changed completely over time. Our civilization obtained the means to banish all monsters into dimensional holes, shown by monsters being sucked into a swirling portal. Aion floated helplessly downwards into the unknown, surrounded by the now useless 99 weapon relics as the portal closed above. Toma remarked how terrible that was, and asked Aion if he resented those who threw them away. Aion knelt near the scattered relics, creating a glowing energy in his hand. He felt a nostalgic, bittersweet, and gentle feeling from the energy he called Anonsem's love. Suddenly, a massive monster appeared in the distance, shaking the ground around them. Aion realized that normal methods wouldn't stop the monsters even this far. The figure next to him expressed confusion, stating his brain couldn't figure out another way to save their comrades. Aion looked down thoughtfully as the other man looked back at him. In a flashback, Anonsem smiled and entrusted his life and Anonsem's life to Aion, asking him to use him to defeat them. Anonsem acknowledged that Aion became a relic for the sake of love. Aion wiped a tear away, confirming that he knew Anonsem's true feelings. The scene faded as Aion remembered Anonsem, marked by fading light and purple dust. The scene settled back to the present, showing Aion and Toma in the clearing. Toma saw someone else arrive, who towered over him. Hakoe-san appeared, radiating an immense, fiery aura. Toma noticed the intensity of his aura was on a different scale, realizing, this is Hakoe-san's real body. Hakoe-san walked forward while Toma remained kneeling. Hakoe-san looked at the destruction behind him. Hakoe-san looked down at Toma, noting that Toma had completely exceeded his expectations, though he hadn't expected much from anyone for a long time. He looked at Toma and the petrified form of Kumo. Hakoe-san told Toma not to be so formal, as they were both A-rank now, and praised him for doing well. Toma looked up at Hakoe-san with wide eyes. Toma was very happy and thanked Hakoe-san sincerely for his praise. Hakoe-san helped Toma stand up, placing a hand on his shoulder, apologizing for something mysterious. Hakue-san told Toma to grab onto his shoulder as they prepared to move. As they arrived inside an undiscovered dungeon where Toma saw another person carrying a large sword, the man with the sword remarked that if they were moving to a different ruin, it was quite a large dungeon. Toma watched as the masked figure stepped forward into the area filling with red, flower-like creatures. The person apologized for being quiet. He explained he wanted to clean up the new place before welcoming everyone. He then added that more comrades would be joining them here, as the previous ruin was too cramped for everyone. The man casually replied, not to worry, as he was planning to drop the old ruin and destroy an entire island nation. Toma then asked about Basilisk-san and how Aion becoming a relic made him happy. The person asked about their old ruin, wondering if it was okay not to erase their tracks. He casually replied not to worry, as he was planning to drop the old ruin to destroy an entire island nation. Toma was shocked, seeing the immense sky hole left by the falling ruin, thinking it looked like a festival. A mysterious cloaked figure appeared, ready to act, surrounded by swirling purple and green energy. This figure's power began to gather, creating beautiful blue roses that glowed with energy, which seemed to gather around a sphere. The cloaked figure watched the glowing roses, hoping their new allies would like the new place. Toma agreed to take the petrified Kumu home with them, saying yes. He watched as the petrified body of Kumo was carefully carried away, reacting with shock as something massive appeared. Toma looked up at something truly massive falling from the sky, reacting with surprise. He realized it was an entire dungeon, an unbelievably huge structure, exclaiming it was too massive. Hakue, standing close to Toma, looked up at the falling mass. Hakue explained that the size of a sky hole matches the size of the falling ruin. He then declared that this was a city destruction class ruin, or even a national destruction class 1. Toma was horrified, thinking the damage would be catastrophic. But Hakue told him not to panic. Hakue then revealed that a very important person was already there. Suddenly, a huge explosion of light and power shattered the falling ruin into countless pieces. Another person, looking surprised amidst the falling fragments, remarked that it was rough, and asked if there was no treasure vault. Toma and Aion watched as the fragments of the shattered ruin rained down around them. Toma realized that the giant ruin had been completely shattered, and it wasn't publicly announced at all. But he understood that the person responsible was, without a doubt, the strongest. The world's strongest person, the S-rank number 1, Haosho Kyoki, was revealed as she descended triumphantly. Toma was completely stunned, thinking, Haosho-san is such an incredible person. Haosho Kyoki walked towards Toma, telling him he was amazing not only for passing Koya's exam. She smiled, saying, just as I expected, while Hakue-san appeared in the background. Hakue-san placed a hand on Toma's shoulder, praising his success. She chuckled, saying she was just kidding with Koya about something. She explained to Toma that they were gathering elite hunters from all over the world. Toma realized with surprise that he was one of them, as Hakue stood in the background with others. Haosho Kyoki smiled, sensing a future of great growth for him. Extending her hand, she then directly asked Kurogane Touma if he would join her alliance. A powerful man reached out to Kurogane Touma, asking him to join his alliance. Touma bowed and kindly refused, explaining that his sister always comes first for him. The powerful man maintained his confident, slightly smirking expression. Touma then turned to Hakue, thanking him warmly for saving his life. Hakue, the Balmung person, thought an elixir would help Touma get better. As Touma left, he asked Husho to pay back the money he borrowed. Note, the visible narration does not align with the original text for Crop 6, so I placed the intended narration here based on the sequence provided in the raw story, even though the image shows a different speech bubble. Someone else commented that Husho was very selfish for borrowing money from Touma and then still asking him to join the alliance. Hosho simply said it was Toma's destiny to join, just like Koya had. He confidently stated that everyone would just have to watch what happens next. Toma continued running, and Husho called out that it was his fate to join the alliance. In a flashback, Haosho had also asked Koya to form an alliance with him. Koya was angry, feeling he had been tricked into joining Hosho's alliance. After thinking about it, Koya got a headache, realizing Hosho had played a dirty trick on him. Koya wondered what kind of plan Husho was cooking up this time. Back in the present, Toma questioned if he made the right choice by not joining the alliance. Toma wondered if it was okay to turn down the offer. Even if you are searching for Basilisk, having powerful allies would be better. Toma admitted that he was truly happy to be asked to join by such powerful people. However, he recalled that alliance members lived and traveled together all over the world, Suzu, holding a spatula, looked happy. Toma admitted that his biggest goal was to completely cure Suzu. Toma began to wonder how En and Sem managed to turn people to stone. He reasoned that basilisk creates many kinds of toxins, and it's highly likely he was given a petrifying poison. Toma also found out that Anansem was not the only one working with basilisk, and he was admired by many. Realizing there are many more people like Anansem, Toma decided he needed to become even stronger than that. Toma asked Aion if he could train him, but Aion stated that if he could satisfy his hunger, he would consider it. Toma returned home, calling for Suzu, but she wasn't there. He looked around the entrance hall, calling out Suzu. Suddenly, a message appeared on Toma's phone, causing him to stare blankly while Aion hovered nearby. Toma was in shock, unable to believe what he was seeing on the note. He screamed with rage, suddenly charging forward with aggressive intent. He quickly told Aion to follow Suzu's love scent to find her, while Aion rushed ahead. Aion confirmed he smelled it and said it was around here. They rushed towards a large ruin, and Toma worried that Suzu might be inside. As they arrived, Toma saw Haosho and wondered what was happening. Haosho smiled, explaining that Suzu had mastered the weapon he gave her right away. Toma anxiously asked where Suzu was, his face tinted purple with worry. Haosho casually replied that she was probably solo conquering the dungeon at that moment. Toma was furious, summoning his swordless creation to fight Haosho. He used his steel-cutting blade to attack Haosho, determined to get to Suzu. Haosho dodged Toma's iron blades, moving quickly to avoid being hit. Toma continued his fierce attack, creating many blades in front. Toma desperately called out Suzu's name, rushing towards the dungeon entrance as Haosho fell toward the ground. Haosho used his flying cloak to escape, while Toma stressed that he didn't have time to deal with this. Haosho suddenly appeared, calling out Suzu. Toma, still holding his sword, rushed toward the ruin's entrance. Haosho casually replied, "That's right," holding the sword near Toma. As Toma looked at Haosho, he was struck hard. Haosho then spoke about the relic era bringing prosperity, a catchphrase used by those focused on relic interests. Toma lay on the ground, calling Haosho selfish. Haosho cheerfully opened his container, striking Toma as he began his speech, resulting in Toma yelling, "Uga!" Toma struggled underneath him, hearing Haosho say, "That's the catchphrase of those involved in relic interests." He showed scenes of monsters killing people after coming out of ruins. Haosho declared his big goal to get rid of the sky holes from this world. He then stated that he wanted to save the world. Toma looked at Haosho, standing under the setting sun, and admitted that he was not that noble himself. Toma admitted that this person is looking at something so big compared to his own priorities. Toma firmly stated that if he had to choose between saving the world or Suzu, he would save Suzu without a moment's hesitation. Just then, Suzu appeared, proudly announcing that she had solo conquered the dungeon. He realized that if he could only save the world or Suzu, he would choose Suzu. She excitedly showed Toma her phone, saying she soloed a raid dungeon on her first day and asking if that isn't amazing. Suzu, looking happy, then asked Toma if he would fight alongside Kyoki-san to get rid of the sky holes. She told him she thought that was great and reminded him that he defeated that dragon monster, didn't he, big brother? Suzu beamed, telling Toma that everyone in her class told her to say thank you to him. She confessed she was a little proud that her big brother was amazing, and that people all over the world needed him. Suzu said she was a little worried, but she had a good luck charm for him. She handed him a charm and sweetly asked him to come home sometimes to eat, saying she would give him this so he could throw away that embarrassing origami. Touma found throwing it away difficult because it had become a sword, and Aion commented that Suzu's embarrassment is also love. Haosho chuckled, understanding that Toma's loyalty to his sister meant he wasn't noble because his sister came first and the world second. Haosho then told Toma that was perfectly fine. He explained that his alliance was made for people like Toma, who fight to protect what they care about most. He believed that protecting what they cherish naturally leads to saving the world. Haosho looked at Toma and asked him one last time to join his alliance, holding out his hand. Toma, with a determined look, reached out his hand. With a determined look, Toma immediately asked to join. And so Toma shook hands with Haosho, officially joining the alliance, much to Suzu's delight. Haosho proudly declared the case closed. Suddenly, Koya appeared and punched Haosho, complaining about Haosho setting up such a dirty trap. Haosho quickly apologized, and Hakue told Toma not to worry about his sister. Hakue promised to guard Suzu with his clone while Toma was away, which made Toma feel much better. Suzu warned Toma not to follow Haosho to dangerous places, but Hosho clarified that the ruin was safe because the Hunter Management Bureau controlled it. Toma was surprised, admitting he didn't know that. Hosho informed Toma that he would be working with Koya's team, as things similar to the guy with the weird arms have been found all over the world, and they needed to be stopped. Toma understood, realizing he needed to act. He realized he couldn't stay the same and had to get much stronger. Toma decided that he has to get stronger. Hosho offered to train him for one night. He pointed towards the ruin. Hosho smiled, promising to make Toma 3 times stronger. Whispers filled the Grand Estate about a new member joining their ranks. Inside, some members were excited, believing they would finally have their ideal 4-person squad formation. They heard the new member was only the lowest A rank, but apparently, they passed their exam with Hakue-san as the examiner. Enjo Ryuga, an S-rank fighter, was very angry, thinking the new member's skill was actually S-rank level. Onraku Mikuto, another S-rank, looked happy at first, but then saw Ryuga's furious face. Ryuga glared with intense red eyes, shouting angrily, which made Mikuto jump back in fear. Mikuto was terrified as Ryuga yelled, claiming that he would have easily passed the A-rank exam too if Hakue-san had been his examiner. Mikuto begged Ryuga not to yell, while Yugi impatiently asked when this new person was going to arrive. Suddenly, Ryuga looked shocked, realizing the new member was already there, right behind him, as Mikuto exclaimed that it looked like he was already here. Ryuga thought that first impressions were very important, deciding he needed to make the new person understand who was in order. He quickly ran off, shouting at the newbie not to be left behind. Meanwhile, Toma, the new member, was sitting in a chair, looking pale and unwell, while another person stood over him. Toma looked extremely stressed, wide-eyed and sweaty. Ryuga and Mikuto looked shocked, realizing that he's already been taught something. The person standing explained that the new member was Kurogane Touma, joining Hakue's squad, and asked them to treat him well. Toma weakly greeted them, while the person explained he had injected a recovery potion directly into Toma's veins. He assured them that Toma would perk up soon, as Ryuga and Mikuto looked on with wide, worried eyes, wondering what happened so bad he couldn't take it orally. Their leader then announced he was called to another mission. He instructed Ryuga and Mikuto to take Toma on today's mission and teach him various things. Ryuga protested, wanting to go on the more dangerous mission instead. The leader told Ryuga he didn't have time to babysit and would go alone, warning Ryuga not to overestimate his own abilities. He told all 3 of them to work together, looking sternly at Ryuga to make sure he understood. Ryuga was fuming internally, angry at that bastard Hakue for acting superior, even though he's just A rank. Ryuga then turned to Toma, making it clear he wanted to establish who was superior, calling him a rag. Ryuga reminded Toma that he was the lowest A rank, while Ryuga himself was an S rank. He leaned over Toma, asking if he understood what I'm saying. Ryuga pointed a finger at Toma's face, yelling that he and you're below. Mikuto then happily jumped in, excitedly introducing himself as Enraku Mikuto and welcoming Toma-kun. Toma nervously greeted him back, while Mikuto started a long, excited chatter about something. Toma politely asked Mikuto to calm down, but Mikuto, with a cheerful smile, told him to drop the formalities and just call him Mikuto. Mikuto then became very excited about Toma's black relic, calling it a new and amazing discovery beyond bronze, silver, or gold. Ryuga watched, quietly calling Mikuto a maniac. Suddenly, Ryuga yelled at Toma again, accusing him of ignoring him, while Toma quickly denied it. Ryuga continued to push Toma down, telling him not to get cocky. Toma, still looking nervous, simply agreed, saying it was factually correct. Ryuga, annoyed by Toma's calm agreement, called him no fun and boring. Ryuga then ordered them to hurry up and finish the mission, telling Toma to just watch your seniors' backs. Ryuga ran ahead, with Mikuto calling out not to be left behind, and Toma simply watched them go. Toma, in his ghostly form, noticed Mikuto's strong love for relics, and also sensed that Ryuga had a similar but hidden passion. He realized that his earlier thought about Ryuga was not true. Ryuga also had a love for things similar to Toma's own feelings. As they stood before a large, mysterious ruin, Mikuto asked if Toma thought conquering an abandoned ruin was too ordinary for a clan that saves the world. Toma admitted he thought so too, but Mikuto explained why it was actually important. Mikuto explained that after a ruin appears and some time passes, it breaks down and monsters come out. Toma agreed it would be terrible, then asked why ruins were abandoned in the first place. Mikuto answered that it was simple. The conquest difficulty is too high. Inside the ruin, a group of 6 warriors called the Sextuplets were fighting a massive purple monster. They launched a combined attack. wondering if they had defeated it. The sextuplets celebrated their teamwork, but then cried out, "What?" To their horror, the monster began to move again, and they screamed. Their secret golden weapon relic wasn't working, and the sextuplets, an A-rank clan identical kickbusters, had failed ruin conquests. The monster roared and struck, causing Ryuga's blade to crack. Flames erupted around Ryuga, showing the fierce battle. The sextuplets were tossed around, clearly outmatched and struggling. Ryuga, seeing the chaos, muttered that these low-rank weaklings should go home and get part-time jobs. He decided to handle the powerful monsters himself, preparing his own attack. Ryuga then unleashed his powerful sword, Purgatory Masamune. With a fierce cry, he performed a roaring flame slash. His fiery attack sliced through the air with immense power. Everyone watched in awe as Ryuga's attack sent enemies scattering. Touma and Mikuto looked on, amazed by the Purgatory Masamune, wondering if they should call it a natural energy type like Hakoe-san's Torres. Ryuga continued to fight through the room filled with fiery energy and floating debris. He smiled confidently, acknowledging that his simple but strong technique was effective. As he continued his fiery assault, a monster fired a beam of energy back at him. Ryuga easily dodged the attack, calling it useless, but the redirected blast then flew straight towards Touma and Mikuto. Mikuto quickly realized that if Ryuga dodged, the attack would fly their way and mumbled in alarm, recognizing the danger from the tool relic. Mikuto quickly pulled out a glowing circular relic, yelling that he found it. He activated its directional rotation ability. The relic created a strong energy field, swirling the incoming attack away. The redirected energy blast then struck something else, saving them. Mikuto looked surprised by his own quick action, while Touma was simply amazed. Touma realized how skilled Kyoki-san's clan members were, even as Ryuga watched, still unwilling to admit his own A-rank status might not be enough. Touma decided he couldn't lose either, getting ready to fight. He focused, ready to show the results of my training. I'll test them. He prepared to test his power, calling forth his swordless creation. With a surge of fiery energy and a determined look, Touma activated his Dragon Scale Blade. Three figures looked down, discussing swordless creation, a skill that is said to be very useful and adaptable. Touma lies on the ground, clearly tired, but holds his glowing blade and expresses thanks after a tough training session. The story goes back to last night's training, where Toma's ability to control his power, called Guide Force Manipulation, had almost reached a good level. The instructor then said it was time to extend the skill's strengths. His instructor told him it was time to make his skill even stronger by letting it take on the properties of different materials. The instructor explained that Touma should learn to absorb many kinds of things, like wood, rubber, various metals or monster materials like the White Dragon scales, to be ready for any fight. He also mentioned the Dragon Scale Blade. He then told Touma to keep the Dragon Scale Blade powered up so he could fire off reverse scale from the start. Touma wondered how he could charge his blade so quickly, as he needed to accumulate powerful impacts to activate reverse scale. Suddenly, the instructor started attacking Touma with blinding, lightning-fast strikes. The instructor asked him, "You'll block it, right?" Touma was left wide-eyed and stunned, realizing he was expected to block these intense attacks. Outside, the night sky was filled with stars, shining over the ancient-looking ruin where their training took place. Back in the present, Touma faced several menacing monsters, preparing to unleash his powerful swordless creation skill. He focused his energy, ready to activate his special move, which he called Swordless Creation. This was followed by activating the Dragon Scale Blade. With a determined look, Touma initiated the first part of his attack, Reverse. He completed the powerful move, unleashing the full force of Reverse Scale against his enemies. The scene shifts to the title card for Chapter 11, titled VS Boss Flak, setting the stage for the next challenge. Touma stood amidst the ruins, surrounded by the defeated monster parts, taking a moment to breathe after his fierce attack. Suzu was utterly amazed by Touma's incredible power, praising him loudly, while another character, Ryuga, looked on with a complicated expression. Touma humbly explained that his most powerful skill could only be used once in a fight. Ryuga, filled with anger and frustration, shouted, "I won't acknowledge it!" Ryuga then accused Touma of copying his unique Purgatory Masamune sword, which Touma quickly denied. Ryuga also questioned Touma's rapid jump in rank. Ryuga angrily called Touma a rich boy who probably bought his way up with a relic, while Touma demanded he stop the insults. Suzu tried to calm the two arguing men, but Ryuga, still upset, proposed a challenge. Whoever beat the ruin's boss first wins. Touma accepted. Ryuga added a condition: the loser becomes a slave for a week. Toma was shocked by this. Toma instantly rejected the idea of being a slave, while Ryuga continued to mock him with nicknames, causing Toma to demand he stop. Suzu sighed, already predicting more trouble between them, while Hakue-san observed that their rivalry seemed to stem from jealousy, or perhaps even a form of affection. As they moved deeper, they saw that someone had already defeated all the smaller monsters, which Hakue-san found boring. Toma thought it was fine, while Ryuga seemed confident he could still handle it. Ryuga confidently declared that since this ruin was only a city destruction class, he was more than enough to handle it by himself. The group continued their journey through the large, quiet chamber of the ruin. They soon reached the treasure vault, which surprised them because the boss monster usually appeared before this point. Suzu wondered if Toma had already defeated the boss. Ryuga quickly declared that if Toma had defeated the boss, it wouldn't count for their bet. Suddenly, Suzu shivered, feeling an intense cold spread around them. A quick, sharp movement cut through the air, indicating something incredibly fast was present. The ground began to crystallize with ice, revealing the icy footsteps of a fast-moving creature. A terrifying beast made of ice and sharp crystals lunged forward, startling Ryuga, who stared at it in horror. Toma, Ryuga, and Suzu all looked stunned and nervous as the powerful new enemy appeared. The speedy boss monster quickly attacked Ryuga, who cried out in pain from the sudden blow. The monster vanished as swiftly as it appeared, leaving Toma and the others confused and searching for it. Suzu was terrified, but Ryuga, despite being hit, tried to act tough, saying it was just a bit cold and slightly fast. Toma kept his weapon ready. Anraku-san suddenly received an urgent communication through her device. It was the communications room, telling Anraku-san they had new, critical orders for her. The updated order was very clear and urgent. Retreat immediately. Anraku-san looked surprised and puzzled by the sudden command to retreat. Meanwhile, someone in the control room identified the monster, realizing it was very similar to a boss that had appeared in Hawaii 3 years ago. They explained that the monster's extreme speed caused a delay in response, and it had frozen an entire island, including Kilauea volcano, in just a few hours. The Hunter Management Bureau had first thought that Ruin was only City Destruction class after their investigation. However, they discovered its true power was actually National Destruction class difficulty, and its name was the Boss, the world's Azure Flash Flak. Anraku-san was completely shocked to learn they were facing a monster of National Destruction class power. Given the urgency, they requested Hakuo-san to join them and repeated the urgent command for everyone to retreat immediately. The command to retreat echoed again, as the powerful boss monster Flak hovered menacingly above the three heroes. Ryuga, however, smiled smugly and refused to retreat, claiming the mighty monster as his own prey. He declared himself an S-rank hero and refused any help from Hakue-san, telling the others to get back. As Toma tried to pull Ryuga back, the ice monster Flak launched another lightning-fast attack. Flak moved with incredible speed, delivering a powerful strike. Both Toma and Ryuga were hit hard by the monster's fast attacks, sending them flying back. Ryuga cried out in pain as he tumbled from the force of the blow. Toma and Ryuga lay injured on the ground, while Suzu watched the chaos, looking utterly scared. Suzu screamed in pure terror, completely overwhelmed by the sudden and brutal attack. She desperately shouted for everyone to retreat, and repeatedly called out for Hakue-san to arrive faster, fearing for their lives. The giant ice monster Flak loomed over Suzu, its menacing form reflected in her wide, scared eyes. Ryuga, despite his injuries, quickly got up and yelled, "Shut up!" charging back into the fight. Toma also moved to protect Suzu, blocking the monster's next attack with his blade. The ice monster, Flak, turned its attention to them again, observing the injured heroes on the ground, with Suzu knocked down. Toma realized that the monster's incredible speed was just as fast as Hakuo-san's renowned lightning speed. Ryuga, though bleeding, remained fiercely determined. Suzu felt relieved for a moment and thanked Toma, urging them all to retreat from the overwhelming foe. Ryuga, however, refused to retreat and instead commanded Mikuto to get ready and back him up in the fight. Toma, still recovering, understood that they needed something extra, some new strategy, to face this fast and powerful boss if attacks couldn't hit. Toma tried to reason with Ryuga, telling him it wasn't the time to compete, and they needed to work together, but Ryuga screamed for Mikuto to back him up. Ryuga glared back, angrily refusing the suggestion to cooperate and still calling Toma names. Ryuga declared that if he couldn't defeat such a monster alone, his rank wouldn't go up. Toma responded, "This isn't the time to compete." He proclaimed his ambition to become the #1 S-rank hero, showing fierce determination. He unleashed a powerful fiery attack, screaming out his technique. A massive wave of intense flames erupted from Ryuga, engulfing the area with the words, "Roaring Flame Eruption." Ryuga's fiery attack clashed with the agile ice monster, but it seemed too fast to be caught. Suzu cried out, pointing out that Ryuga's flames weren't hitting the speedy boss at all. Ryuga, however, insisted that it was fine, planning to burn the entire room to force the monster into a corner. He believed that by setting the whole place on fire, the incredibly fast monster would have no escape route. Suzu was worried they would all burn to death first, but Ryuga told her to do something herself if she had complaints. Touma realized that Ryuga's plan was dangerous, and understood that if the enemy was too fast, normal attacks would be useless. He decided it was time to use a specific skill, focusing on the dragon scale blade in his hand. He recalled his training, remembering that it was hard to use swordless creation to make things without a clear shape. This seemed insane as they might both go down. His instructor had told him it was difficult to find the central point or core when creating shapeless things. He thought this was the moment to use that skill. The instructor had challenged him to fully master this skill by the next morning. Touma knew that yes, it was hard to grasp the core or center when creating amorphous things with swordless creation. During his training, the instructor had given Touma a special blade to help him practice. Touma remembered the lessons from his training, focusing his mind on his blade, knowing he needed to remember the training. He pumped himself up, believing he could achieve the difficult task. He thought, "I can do this." He concentrated hard, trying to grasp the core of the energy and shape it like a sword. He gritted his teeth, pouring immense effort and focus into the task, muttering, "Ah." With a powerful surge of energy, he began to call out the name of his technique, swordless. Finally, with a burst of power, Touma completed the skill, shouting, "Creation N!" into the fray. Ryuga focused his energy, preparing for a powerful attack. He knew he had to gather all his strength to succeed. His eyes burned with determination as he concentrated, trying to grasp the core of the lightning power. He needed to shape it into a weapon. With a fierce resolve, Ryuga managed to hold the lightning in his hand, turning it into a sword through his special technique. He then launched himself into action, using his newly formed lightning sword against the monstrous foe, surrounded by fire and the icy creature. Ryuga struck powerfully with his lightning sword, showing his intense focus and skill in the midst of the battle. Ryuga continued to channel the lightning, preparing another surge of power to strike down his enemy. His eyes glowed with the raw energy of lightning as he pushed his limits in the fight. Watching from a distance, another person reacted with surprise, recognizing the powerful technique Ryuga was using. This exciting chapter, titled "Inside the Sky Hole," promises more adventures for our heroes. The massive crystal monster stood before them, intimidating and powerful, yet Ryuga faced it head-on. Ryuga moved with incredible speed, his lightning blade flashing as he engaged the formidable opponent. He clashed fiercely with the monster, creating a powerful explosion that sent debris flying. Ryuga dodged the monster's attacks, showing incredible agility and quick reactions. His movements caused the ground to explode around him as he fought with all his might against the crystal beast. The battlefield was a chaotic scene of destruction, with pieces of the environment shattering from the intense fight. The monster was immense, but Ryuga, with his glowing lightning sword, stood bravely against it. The monster launched sharp ice projectiles, but Ryuga deftly avoided them, moving with surprising speed. Ryuga's companion, annoyed, explained that by gathering guide force in his eyes, one could see the true nature of what was happening. The red-haired hero realized with a shocked expression that he knew this technique. He recognized it as Hakuoe-san's lightning chain dance, a technique that now belonged to Ryuga. Someone acknowledged Ryuga's skill, impressed that he managed to turn Torres's lightning into a sword. The instructor explained that the lightning sword was the easiest form of the technique to handle, and he would teach Ryuga the lightning chain dance. The technique involved super-fast muscle reactions, controlled by bioelectric currents, giving Ryuga incredible speed. It also allowed for high-speed, short-distance movement, all thanks to electromagnetic field control, which Ryuga used to strike the monster. Ryuga moved like a blur, the force of his lightning attacks impacting the monstrous beast. The monster roared in pain as Ryuga's attacks struck its crystal body, causing cracks and shatters. The ground beneath them was covered in shards of ice and crystal as the intense battle continued. Ryuga darted around the monster, avoiding its attacks and looking for an opening. He zipped past the monster multiple times, a whirlwind of lightning making it hard for the beast to keep track of him. Ryuga continued his relentless assault, pushing the monster back with his lightning-infused strikes. He stood his ground, facing the towering monster with unwavering courage, ready for the next move. The battle intensified, with powerful forces clashing in a blinding display of energy. Ryuga understood that the true power of his technique wasn't just to dodge, but to break through enemies like lightning. He prepared to unleash a devastating breakthrough force, showing his fierce determination. Ryuga charged his lightning, ready for a final explosive attack to finish the monster. He activated his powerful move, the Roaring Lightning Flash, aiming to deal a critical blow. The Roaring Lightning Flash was a powerful, piercing attack that could break through anything. The monster let out a pained roar as Ryuga's attack hit, causing more cracks to appear on its body. The creature crumbled under the immense power of Ryuga's technique, leaving shards of crystal behind. The monster finally fell, defeated, its massive body crashing down as the ice around it shattered. Ryuga looked exhausted but victorious, having pushed his limits to defeat the powerful foe. He felt a jolt of pain, realizing the strain his powerful lightning attacks put on his body. Ryuga stood over the fallen monster, catching his breath after the intense fight. He admitted to himself that he couldn't use such a strong technique repeatedly. Ryuga realized he still needed more training, but was glad his plan had worked. His companion praised him for having good teachers. Everyone was amazed by Ryuga's incredible feat, watching him in awe. They cheered, utterly astonished that he had managed to defeat a boss of National Destruction class. Ryuga's companion then remembered something important, asking about the promise made if Ryuga lost. Ryuga, beaming with pride, declared his victory, explaining he had cut off the monster's escape route with his Purgatory Masamune. His other friend, however, teasingly suggested it was a joint effort, calling Ryuga a rag, which made him angry. Ryuga offered to let the 1-week slave bet go if his friend stopped calling him a rag, but the friend still questioned if the horse was truly the boss. The white-haired companion pointed out that Ryuga was the one who started the fight, making the red-haired friend sigh in frustration, accepting defeat. The red-haired friend finally acknowledged Ryuga's strength, realizing he wasn't just a weakling relying on a strong relic. Despite the acknowledgement, the friend still called Ryuga Seaweed Head, much to Ryuga's annoyance, who thought it was an even worse nickname. His companion also noted Ryuga's skill in copying not only Purgatory Masamune, but also Hakue-san's Torres. Ryuga quickly corrected him, insisting it wasn't copying, but reconstruction, while his friend dismissed the detail. The white-haired companion intervened, reminding them that fighting among themselves was a waste of time. She urged them to focus on getting to the treasure vault before the ruin completely vanished. With their differences set aside, they hurried towards the treasure vault, eager to claim their rewards. They gasped in awe upon seeing the vault, truly a sight worthy of a National Destruction class ruin. The vault was overflowing with countless rare relics, a treasure trove beyond their wildest dreams. While his friends excitedly gathered items, Ryuga calmly picked up a small relic, knowing he was well equipped with his Purgatory Masamune. He recalled how, in the past, treasure vaults only allowed one item to be taken, making this abundant haul even more special. His white-haired companion excitedly discovered a matching set of dark and light orbs, and a doubling potion she couldn't wait to use. She revealed a 100-fold bag, a high-class tool relic that could hold 100 times its visible volume and reduce item weight to 100,000, making it very convenient. His friends praised Mikuto's impressive knowledge of relics, noting that studying them was his hobby. Ryuga, curious, asked if Mikuto's board-like compass was his weapon relic. Mikuto explained that the Yellow Dragon compass was a tool relic, and while he did have a weapon relic, he wasn't very good at using it. He then offered to teach them the difference between weapon relics and tool relics, clearly eager to share his knowledge. Ryuga indicated he mostly knew, but Mikuto decided to explain anyway, eagerly launching into his lecture. Mikuto explained that tool relics are often made from monster fangs, bodily fluids, and other such materials. He then shared a surprising fact. The valuable elixir they found earlier was actually made from a white dragon's tears, leaving his friends astonished. He further explained that tool relics have ranks, lower, upper, and special class. Special class relics are incredibly powerful, including things like energy reactors that can power an entire nation. They can even include relics that can rewind time within a certain area, which left Ryuga utterly amazed. Mikuto emphasized the immense value of these relics, stating that even one drop of the elixir was traded for about 50 times the price of a golden weapon relic. In contrast, weapon relics are a complete mystery, with unknown materials and production processes, yet their designs all suggest they came from the same creator. Ryuga noted that Mikuto was quite sharp, while the white-haired companion felt uneasy about the mysterious creator. It was strange, Mikuto pointed out, how every ruin's treasure vault always contained at least one weapon relic, despite their mysterious origins. The red-haired companion abruptly urged them to stop chatting and hurry up, eager to keep moving. The white-haired companion paused, agonizing over whether to take ox-pig or pig-ox meat, as she could only take one home. The red-haired friend quickly pointed out that both choices were essentially the same. As they climbed the stairs out of the vault, the white-haired companion joyfully exclaimed about their amazing haul of tool relics, which could be used for anything from support to interference. He promised to show a better side of himself in the next boss fight, having felt pathetic during the last one. Suddenly, a strange force made their steps falter. They realized they were floating, disoriented and confused by the sudden zero gravity. They frantically wondered where the ground had gone, realizing something was seriously wrong. Ryuga, along with the ethereal being, recognized this as a worst-case scenario. They quickly understood they were inside a sky hole, which was essentially a trash dump of interdimensional space. To their horror, menacing monsters began to appear all around them in the strange, colorful void. The red-haired companion screamed, realizing they were surrounded by countless monsters. Ryuga exclaimed how many there were, while the red-haired companion, despite the danger, bravely suggested they just needed to take them all down. The white-haired companion panicked, realizing they couldn't swing their swords properly without ground beneath their feet, and urged Mikuto to use his tool relics. The red-haired companion swung his sword in a chaotic manner, struggling to fight effectively in zero gravity. Ryuga recognized that they were all useless in this situation, and once again pleaded with Mikuto to use his tool relics. The red-haired companion teasingly asked Mikuto if he was good at running away, causing the white-haired companion to protest, calling it impossible. Mikuto expressed his frustration, realizing he needed to do something quickly. The red-haired companion yelled at Mikuto to just go, as he and the others were already trying to fight off the swarm of monsters. The white-haired companion screamed in terror as the monsters closed in, all of them flailing in the zero-gravity battle. A character is shown from the foot up, feeling deeply frustrated by his situation. He angrily demands for something to just go already. He struggles against strange, dark monsters in a chaotic space, realizing he can barely move while others seem to float freely. He screams in despair, thinking he will die in this unfair fight. This is chapter 13 of the story, titled The Great Sword Hero, the Scrap Loved by God. Another character tumbles through the air with purple energy, caught in the strange environment. Mikuto, still trapped, cries out in fear, pleading with the incoming flying monsters not to approach him. He feels it is very unfair that only some people can move freely, and he fears he is going to die soon. His biggest fear is dying all alone, and he desperately reaches for something in his hand. Mikuto activates an explosive eye, which is a lower-class tool relic designed as a bomb. He notes it is not very reliable against monsters. He throws the glowing bomb, yelling at the approaching monsters to stay away from him. The bomb flies towards the monsters, shining brightly as it makes contact with one of them. A large explosion erupts, engulfing the monster in a fiery blast. Despite the big explosion, Mikuto sees the monster is mostly unharmed and realizes his bomb didn't work at all. Touma and Mikuto look at the still-standing monster and the seemingly ineffective bomb, unsure what to do next. Suddenly, the single bomb relic begins to multiply rapidly, splitting into many copies. Numerous small glowing bombs now surround the monsters, who look surprised by the sudden change. One of the small splitting bombs is shown closely, almost vibrating with energy. Mikuto explains that he combined the bomb with a doubling potion, an upper-class tool relic that splits an object every second for 10 minutes, calling it his most efficient move. The many bombs explode at once, creating a massive chain reaction that heavily impacts the monsters. The monsters let out a collective scream as they are caught in the powerful, widespread blast. Touma and Mikuto float above the explosions, celebrating Mikuto's amazing move. Mikuto happily states that the monsters won't be able to move for a while, and Touma asks what their next step should be. Touma looks to his side at the glowing blue spirit, who then points towards something in the distance. The blue spirit shows Touma a floating ruin far away and suggests that heading there would be a smart move. The spirit explains that they might be able to return to their world through that ruin, just like the White Dragon's ruins were once dropped into it. Touma understands the idea, but wonders how they will manage to reach such a distant ruin. Suddenly, a strong force pulls the characters through the air at high speed, making them scream in surprise. They are rapidly carried across a red, flower-filled sky towards the floating ruin. The orange-haired character breathes a sigh of relief, realizing how close they were to dying during the chaotic journey. They land safely inside the ruin, and Touma expresses gratitude for gravity, which helps them stand upright again. The blue spirit tells Touma their goal is the treasure vault within this ruin, explaining its special purpose. Touma asks why they need to go there specifically. The spirit reveals that the treasure vault has the special ability to create a sky hole. This sky hole can send them down to their own world, but he warns them not to defeat the ruin's boss, or the entire ruin will disappear. Touma acknowledges the warning as they look around at the strange glowing red environment of the ruin. Touma is shocked, realizing there are many monsters around, despite the warning not to engage the boss. Purple energy pulsates around the intimidating monsters that stand still in the ruin. The orange-haired character, Ryuga, tries to get the attention of the blue spirit, calling him seaweed and asking what their plan is now. Ryuga continues to call out to the blue spirit, while Touma carefully touches one of the giant, red, still monsters. Touma realizes that the huge monster he touched is completely petrified, turned to stone. He looks around at the countless petrified creatures, filling the entire space. Touma wonders if everything in this ruin is petrified, as a mystical purple blade appears in the foreground. Suddenly, large glowing yellow eyes open on one of the creatures, and Touma gasps, realizing they are facing a basilisk. The petrified monsters begin to stir and make sounds, slowly coming back to life. More of the stone monsters groan and start moving, indicating they are waking up. Touma asks if there are even more monsters, while Ryuga looks determined, ready for battle. The blue spirit confidently declares that with solid ground beneath their feet, these monsters are nothing to worry about. And another character nervously agrees. The blue spirit snaps his fingers, instructing Touma and Ryuga to handle all the monsters themselves. He then warps himself to the top of a tall pillar, leaving the other two below, and Touma looks confused. Touma and Ryuga both call out to him in disbelief, wondering why he would leave them. Mikuto, left behind in the previous area, screams desperately at the monsters closing in, begging not to be left alone. A strong blue force suddenly pushes Touma and Ryuga forward with great speed. They are warped again, arriving in a new bright room with tall white pillars standing in shallow water, looking surprised. They look around the strange, beautiful space, wondering what kind of place this is. Ryuga angrily asks where Mikuto is, realizing the entire scenery has completely changed again. The blue spirit, now standing on a pillar in this new room, explains that this ruin allows them to warp from room to room. He smiles slyly, asking if they think it is a nice ruin. Ryuga shouts, demanding to know if all these mysterious changes are the blue spirit's doing. The blue spirit casually states he left Mikuto behind because Mikuto didn't have a weapon relic and therefore wasn't useful. With a cruel smile, the blue spirit adds that Mikuto is probably monster food by now. Meanwhile, Mikuto is still running for his life from the monsters, desperately yelling at the blue spirit not to abandon him. Ryuga's eyes glow with rage, his expression fierce as he prepares to confront the blue spirit. Touma tells Ryuga to calm down, explaining that the blue spirit is no ordinary human. Touma reveals that the blue spirit is a relic human, just like Aion Sem, someone Touma had fought before. The blue spirit glows with green energy, confirming that he is indeed a relic that has gained a physical body. Touma wonders if this is the type of relic human that Hakue-san had mentioned, while Ryuga angrily rejects being compared to Aion Sem. The blue spirit looks down with a smirk, dismissing the comparison to Aion Sem as an insult. He scoffs, saying not to compare him with that thoughtless idiot, and orders them to drop dead and leave their relics. Golden wings made of light erupt from the blue spirit's back, revealing his powerful relic. These golden wings are identified as the Golden Weapon Relic, Wing Equipment Icarus. Icarus floats high above them on his glowing wings. Touma warns Ryuga that those wings are actually sharp blades and allow for incredibly fast flight. Touma and Ryuga look up, surprised and worried by this new information about Icarus's wings. Icarus smiles, grabbing the hilt of a glowing sword, ready to begin the fight. Ryuga recognizes the sword, gasping the name Gaia's in shock. Touma finishes Ryuga's thought, realizing the sword is gluttony, looking startled. Touma understands Icarus knew about his past, remembering that he was the one who conquered the White Dragon's ruins. He then realizes that Icarus must have brought that relic from there, solidifying his suspicions. Icarus smirks, stating it's always quicker to simply take relics directly from other humans. He then casually refers to Ryuga as seaweed. Icarus calls Ryuga an idiot and says he is not as important as Touma, which visibly annoys both Ryuga and Touma. Icarus questions if Ryuga knows that weapon relics cannot be used at the same time, despite having a sword in hand and wearing the Icarus wings. He explains that using relics simultaneously makes their powers cancel out and become weaker, then dramatically drops the sword, asking if they truly understand. Icarus declares that humans are incredibly inconvenient. Icarus stands with a sly smile, surrounded by powerful purple and yellow energy. The dropped sword relic glows intensely before Icarus rejects it, causing an impending explosion. A massive explosion erupts in the middle of the room. Touma and Ryuga are caught in the powerful blast, looking stunned. The explosion pushes Touma and Ryuga back, forcing them to brace themselves. Icarus stands calmly amidst the spreading flames, now holding a different, fiery sword. Touma and Ryuga are wide-eyed, amazed by the sheer power Icarus just displayed. Touma realizes that Icarus is simultaneously using multiple relics, an impressive feat that even Hakuo-san couldn't achieve. He contemplates the unknown effects of a relic using other relics as Icarus stands with his glowing wings and sword. Touma thinks that Icarus is probably stronger than Anansem, but he feels a surge of resolve despite his fear. Touma tells himself that he has also grown stronger, even without relying on his special dragon-scale blade. He confidently declares that he can defeat relic humans, then tells Ryuga to step back. Touma insists that Icarus cannot be defeated by normal attacks, but Ryuga tells Touma to step aside instead. Ryuga warns Touma not to get caught in his attack, preparing his own powerful swordless creation. Both Touma and Ryuga yell, ready to unleash their ultimate attacks as they face Icarus. Icarus smirks, enjoying the impending battle as he watches them prepare. Ryuga unleashes a massive roaring flame inferno attack towards Icarus. At the same time, Touma prepares to strike with his own powerful diamond blade attack. Touma shouts, fully committed to the battle, as he launches his attack. A winged man with a smug smile looks down, saying that humans are very annoying. A golden blade shines brightly, ready for action in the sky. Touma warns Ryuga to stay back for this fight, because their enemy cannot be cut in a normal way. Ryuga tells Touma to back off instead, saying, "You're the one who should back off." Ryuga announces his powerful technique, swordless creation Purgatory Masamune, showing fierce determination on his face as he prepares to fight. Ryuga screams out his attack name, Roaring Flame Burst Slash, as fire surrounds him. Touma, not to be outdone, charges forward with his glowing blade, preparing his own attack. Touma unleashes his attack with the glowing diamond blade. Touma is suddenly struck down. Touma gets hit hard and falls to the ground, coughing up blood while the enemy shouts, "I told you to stay back!" Ryuga ignores Touma's earlier warning and rushes past him to continue the fight with the winged enemy. Ryuga attacks the winged enemy fiercely, demanding to be sent back to Mikuto. Ryuga's fiery attacks connect with the enemy, exploding around him. He unleashes another powerful move, the Roaring Flame Severing Slash, aiming to blow to pieces. Ryuga looks angry and determined as he puts all his strength into the fiery slash. A massive, fiery explosion, called Seismic Eruption, engulfs the enemy. Ryuga is left in the air, having poured immense power into his attack, standing amongst broken pillars. He watches as the flames clear, looking to see the result of his strong attack. The enemy is still standing, seemingly unharmed by the intense flames, and asks, "Feel better now?" Ryuga screams in shock, realizing he did not inflict not a single scratch. The enemy smiles, telling Ryuga he should have listened to what that Touma kid said, adding that they are tough, you know. The enemy mocks Ryuga, implying that no one taught him about the relic or skill names. The enemy invites Ryuga to attack again, stating, not that it'll matter. Ryuga prepares for another clash, declaring, "Even if I don't know that, I've got my own way of fighting." With glowing eyes, Ryuga declares he will show his ultimate trump card. "I'll show you my trump card." Touma, in a different location, readies himself for a sudden attack. The winged enemy questions Touma regarding Aion, asking, "Is Aion right?" The winged enemy attacks Touma again with a massive explosion. The focus remains on the intense golden blade striking amidst the chaos. A huge explosion results from the golden blade striking Touma. More explosions burst around Touma as the golden blade continues its fierce assault, knocking him back. The golden blade glows intensely as it approaches. Touma holds the glowing blade, realizing this is the legendary relic, Gluttony. Many blue figures appear, clones of the enemy, and they all attack Touma at once. Touma understands that Gluttony's power changes greatly depending on who is using it. The enemy asks Touma if his goal is the same as Anansem's, questioning if it is revenge. Touma responds with a shocked, Huh? The enemy states that he couldn't care less about revenge, explaining that being discarded or bearing grudges has nothing to do with him. The enemy shows an ecstatic expression while an ominous eye appears above him. The enemy laughs joyfully, revealing his desire is for Basilisk-san's praise. Icarus, the spirit within Touma, materializes. Icarus remarks that the enemy's looks and personality haven't changed at all since the old days. Icarus worries that if this keeps up, they'll just get worn down, but acknowledges the blade's adaptability. The golden blade transforms into a more powerful version. The blade becomes the golden chain blade, as Touma prepares to use it, splashing water around his feet. Touma swings the flexible chain blade, launching it at the enemy. Touma prepares for the next move after the initial chain attack. The enemy smiles, holding his golden blade, as he seems impressed or amused by Touma's action. Massive explosions erupt as the chain blade connects or nears the enemy. The enemy looks down at Touma, expressing his disappointment. Compared to that, you explode anywhere you make contact. The enemy dismisses his own blade, which changes appearance slightly. Touma stands ready with the chain blade, standing in water. Touma's face shows fierce determination with glowing yellow eyes. Touma launches the chain blade forward with great speed toward the enemy. The golden chain wraps around the enemy, binding him. The enemy is caught off guard by the chain, which momentarily stops his sword attack. Touma holds the chain tight, showing deep resolve. Touma explains that the golden chain blade, evolved from diamond blade, uses the weight of gold riding on centrifugal force. He continues that the tip moves faster than the speed of sound. The chain blade tightly constricts the enemy, who reacts with surprise. The enemy admits this new attack is a little dangerous, but believes it doesn't matter if it never hits him. The enemy warns Touma that the longer you take, the more trouble Ryuga, the friend he left behind, will be in. A look of horror flashes across the faces of two onlookers as they witness the unfolding situation. The winged man seems briefly stunned by Touma's persistent. The chain explosion hits the winged enemy as Touma's chain attack connects. Touma acknowledges the enemy's warning about Ryuga. He declares, "That's why I'll finish this in the shortest way possible." Touma raises his hand, channeling energy for a new technique. Touma activates his skill, the Dragon Scale Blade. Touma leaps down towards the chained enemy, who is lying on the ground. The enemy smiles, seemingly pleased that Touma used that skill, saying, "That is, I even went to the trouble of setting things up and waiting." A bright, complex energy signature appears as Touma's hand reaches out. The enemy triumphantly raises a massive, shining sword, now free from the chain, scattering debris around him. The sword is revealed to be Balmung. Touma looks shocked as he realizes the sword's identity. Icarus screams at Touma to stop, clearly panicked and worried. Icarus warns Touma that he cannot use the dragon scale blade. The enemy, holding the legendary dragon-slaying light sword Balmung, grins wickedly. Touma is struck by a red light emanating from Balmung, while the enemy smiles evilly. Touma is pierced by the attack, showing his shock and pain. The enemy laughs out loud, enjoying Touma's suffering. The enemy exclaims how good it feels to see Touma's pained expression, saying, "That's the face I wanted to see." Touma is thrown back violently, engulfed in red energy and blood splattering. The enemy dismisses Aion as he stands over the fallen Touma. The scene widens to show the destroyed environment under a dramatic sky. The enemy states that Balmung is... Touma screams in agony as he falls into the maw of a massive blue dragon-like creature, covered in blood. Icarus confirms that Balmung is a greatsword forged specifically to counter strong dragonkin. Icarus notes that after being lured in with such careful preparation, the odds are far too stacked against him. The enemy smiles smugly, preparing to strike the final blow with Balmung, believing Touma is completely outmatched. Touma collapses to the ground, defeated and covered in blood. Ryuga watches on, his face filled with shock and growing anger, as the enemy attacks him. Ryuga, covered in water effects, counters the incoming attack from above. The enemy looks down at Ryuga with a cold expression and says, "Koitsu." Ryuga, engulfed in dark flames, screams, "You Nat!" at the enemy. Touma lies on the ground, severely wounded and defeated. Ryuga's anger manifests in intense dark red flames surrounding him. Ryuga screams out the name of his skill, Blaze Body Enchant. The enemy looks surprised, remarking that an idiot actually chose to use such a skill. Icarus watches Touma, noting that the red-haired boy pushed himself too far. Icarus knows Touma will become stronger, but fears the sacrifice is far too great. Ryuga groans in pain, suffering from the effects of the Blaze Body Enchant. Icarus fears Ryuga will be dead in a few minutes, as Toma is shown to be severely injured. Icarus observes that Toma has a serious wound in his dominant shoulder. Toma falls to the ground, his pivot leg also badly injured, leading Icarus to see the situation as hopeless. And yet, I can't help expecting more from Toma, who continues to burn with resolve. Icarus believes that Toma's true strength always comes from love. As Ryuga looks on in horror, Ryuga calls Toma an idiot, saying he shouldn't fight like that. Ryuga declares that he can still fight too, showing his resolve. He grips his sword tightly, refusing to give up even when badly hurt. With fierce eyes, Ryuga vows to struggle and fight until the very end.